Good morning and welcome to Solana Breakpoint 2022. Now please welcome to the stage your MC and host for today, Alevtina Yakovenko.
Good morning. I am very excited to welcome you all here at the community stage at Teatro Capitolio today. This is second Breakpoint in its history. It's Breakpoint 2022, our Solana Foundation yearly conference. And we have quite an exciting program today on 4 of all our stages, but this one has a special twist to it. Later in the day, we're going to have 2 hours of the community voice. What is a community voice? Community voice is an opportunity for all of you to contribute to the Breakpoint agenda this year. In case you see some topic not being covered deep enough, or you just think that there is another perspective that could be explored on that or this direction of Solana ecosystem, you're more than welcome to apply to speak during this community voice hours, and you will be informed the day before if you got the opportunity and invited to the Breakpoint stage. We have quite an exciting agenda for this stage today. And before we jump in, a little bit of house cleaning. I would love to also shout out that we have a wonderful rooftop upstairs. It is located, if you go through the back doors behind you, as well as this is the only stage that has a little hub behind your backs, which allows you to work during the day and spend your time a little bit more productive while still following up on the content that is happening during the Breakpoint. Around 12:30, if we are all good on time, will be inviting you to have a lunch at this location. As well, we have a group of volunteers working here with specially expanded Solana knowledge for making you more comfortable in this area and answer all the potential questions that you might have about the event, about the industry, or what might be the best content plan for you for this experience during the Breakpoint. Before I announce our next speaker, I want to think together with you that we have quite a lot of tools already available on the blockchain technology that allows us to interact between the products and to expand our user experience in the online world. But what is yet to explore is the connection of the blockchain technology to in real life locations. So we're gonna hear right now about some use cases of how could we use the infrastructure location layer that will be built on Solana. So I'm excited to welcome on this stage the co-founder of Deeplan, Akshay Yeleswarapu, with his presentation on building Solana blockchain location layer. Please welcome.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. How's it going? So I'm Akshay, and I want to give a huge shout out to Shea and Madl, who are both co-founders but couldn't be here today. So hopefully they're watching online. We're Deeplan. Deeplan was started in early this year, around March, and the intent was to figure out ways in which communities in real life could better integrate Web3 into their daily life. And what we really want to see is these people using it as part of everything that they do. With that in mind, like the slide says, we want to bring the entire physical world on chain. So Proto is a spatial data registry for real-world assets and location-based services on Solana, on top of which you can build applications. You can have a base layer on which ownership can be defined. People can own their real-world assets, bring them on chain on their own. And every transaction, effectively, that happens on Proto is geo-referenced, and it's reliant on the base layer of ownership. which means that it can be owned by individuals, and then they can therefore sort of start making money out of the transactions that happen on top of their own property. All right, so why? So like I said, what spatial data needs right now is a single point source of truth. It needs everyone to concur on the fact that this is going to be where property is going to be shared between all of us. In cities today, it's typically a property sheet that cities own. They have lists of who owns a property, who owns it where, how big it is, areas, and things like that. Imagine the same thing, but scaled up to the entire world and shared between all of us. So effectively, what we're trying to do is become the Metaplex, like Metaplex is the standard for NFTs, to become the standard for location and real-world asset ownership. So I'll break this down into two parts. There is an on-chain registry, which is for real-world asset ownership. This is where you mint your own property. You can say that this particular parcel of land is mine, this apartment is mine, or whatever it is. And there is a services layer on which you can build location-based services. Again, to bring together a real-world analogy, cities today do it by creating maps, and they say that this particular area is zoned for commercial purposes, and this particular area is zoned for residential purposes, something like that. So if you've heard of sort of the network state, you'll be familiar with this idea of the city as an operating system. You can think of the operating system being hosted on the location-based services layer, and the ownership layer is where your property stays. So, I'm just going to summarize really quickly. Web3, we see it as incomplete without this ability to bring real-world interactions into it very quickly and easily in a tangible way. And the RWAs, real-world assets that we look at today, they're effectively a form of stock ownership in that a particular company owns a real-world asset, purchases it, and distributes tokens for it, or distributes an NFT or a fractionalized NFT for it. What we're trying to do is to create a single point source of truth, and off which you can continue to build your own property. What we call this a geo NFT, which is basically an NFT that you mint on your own, which is tied to a location, and it can do many things once it's on chain. So before I get into the application, I'm just going to explain it with an analogy. Imagine that the entire world is this sheet of paper, and I know where your property is. That dotted line that you see is your property. I can locate it with an x and y coordinate and a length and width, and I can cut that piece of property out and give it to you. Since that sheet of paper is shared between all of us, and we agree that this is the single point source of truth, I can write down every information about your property on the piece that I cut out, and I can give it to you, and you own it, and no one else can own it anymore. With the last sheet of paper that's left, imagine an infinite number of transparent plastic sheets being laid over it, which are applications on which you can draw and define what the application is, and you can say what is going to happen on them. So technically, this transforms into something like this. There is a geospatial database, which is the core on which you have an ownership layer, a layer of PDLs, which I'll come to in a minute, and there is a minting capability, and there is several other things integrated into it. I'm just checking my time here, sorry. So again, I want to summarize real quick. There is an existing coordinate grid, which is latitude and longitude, which is what we all use in our daily life, and this is the grid that is common for all of us. We overlay a spatial database on it, and there is an API that allows you to relate with it, and you can build applications on top of it. And where do we see this going? I talked about real-world assets, but there are more possibilities, obviously. Location-based transactions, limiting a transaction based on where a person is located. I'm going to show you an example of that today towards the end. DeFi for housing finance and insurance, which is a huge space that hasn't been explored yet, where you can sort of start asking people to purchase houses on-chain. So location-based transactions, effectively, a mapping application, you define a transaction region, you generate a program-derived location, and you're able to run the transaction through it. Every time you run a transaction through the API, there is a verification query that is sent back to the registry, which checks your location, which also checks the location of the transaction that it's supposed to be, and then it lets you mint and lets you go ahead. The same goes for DeFi for housing finance and insurance, and there is several other use cases. I'm only talking about these right now. But this is something that we're really excited about, and it's a really long-term scenario where we imagine the possibility of proof of location being decentralized, that people can actually have validators for location, and we do not need to rely on a server from Google or a server from Mapbox to sort of be able to verify a person's location. All right, I am going to very quickly switch to a demo. Okay, so keep in mind that this is like a working beta right now. We're still working out some of the kinks. What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and pick a location on a map, and I'm going to try and create a transaction around it. So I already have my env file set up where I'm sort of sharing, where I'm giving it my secret key, and it's already transacting through it. And I'm on DevNet right now. I'm going to head over to GeoJSON. And this is the sheet of paper. It's a bit rolled up into a ball, but it's still the same. I'm going to head over to Lisbon. All right, so right at the bottom here, it says PDL type. And because I don't want to build an application, I want ownership. I'm going to define it. And let's just send the request. And there it is. So effectively, what I've done is that created a PDL. A PDL is our term for a program-derived address that is not an address but a location, and it's a program-derived location. I created a PDL that I own with a program ID that I have on my wallet. And basically, now I can create applications around it. I can do other things. Anyone else can also build an application on top of it. An application PDL can intersect with each other, but an ownership PDL cannot. So I own this particular piece of property. Not really, but I mean, you know what I mean. I'm going to switch back to the presentation real quick. Yep, awesome. Thank you. So what are we doing? We're almost done with developing the API. Towards the end of this year, we'll be releasing a beta. So if you want, you can sign up. I'm going to give a link for it. We're really trying to figure out how tokenomics can be developed around it, which is to say that if you own property and someone is calling an API on top of it, creating an application on top of it, you should be able to share some of the revenue that we generate through that. And there needs to be a method for some sort of a tokenomics developed around it. Trying to figure out how that will happen. We're going to continue working on that. We're trying to create an application that will allow you to mint your own property without having to code. And there is, of course, legal implications here. But in places where it is legally possible, we want to try and make this really easy for someone who wants to do it. There'll be a KYC and things like that that need to be done, but we want to work on the possibility of that happening. We also want to make sure that everyone who is interested in doing something around it, we're able to support them from an early stage. So if you want to build an application around something like this, reach out, and we'd love to sort of help out in any which way we can. Sign up if you want to. Thing is up on screen, and you can just scan the code, and you can head over to our website and get access if you want. Last thing. Right towards the sort of next slide, I'm going to give you an opportunity to mint an NFT based on this location. You're going to be redirected to our website, and you can tap on Launch App, and it'll ask you for your location. Please allow it. If you're on iOS, please have the Glow wallet included in your Safari to be able to work through it. If you're Android, try and do it with Solflare. If you have any problems, I'll be walking around. Just reach out, and I'll try to help you. The mint is accessible the entire day. All right. And wow, OK. I am way under time here. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to take questions, but if you have any, just shoot them over. Go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit more about the validation? Can you talk about the validation? Like, how do you validate that you own the theater here?
Oh, exactly. So there needs to be a process I think the question was, can we talk a little bit about validation, which is something that we're still working on. We're trying to figure out how that might be possible. We've tried it in two ways. One, we've done it in a IRL manner. We picked a property in Kenya with whom we're working actively, and we're trying to work with local real estate agents and things like that to help them validate that property and things like that, which is a cost-intensive, labor-intensive process, and we do not obviously want to stick with it. But there needs to be a mechanism to sort of figure out other options. The real hope is that we test it out in enough locations to get enough ground knowledge as to how this thing happens in real life in various contexts, and then we're able to build information around it and create a method to do it. So the aim is to sort of test it out first, IRL, and then we can learn and go ahead. Is there anything else? All right. If there is any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm walking around. If you have trouble using this, reach out. I'm happy to help out. But I am ridiculously under time here, so I'm going to see you guys. Thank you so much.
Amazing. That was very interesting talk. Youth is spent on the young, they say. Unless you are a young crypto founder and already founded your own company or project, youth is the key for future-oriented thinking and acting, and the cornerstone of the digitalization. Let's listen how our young entrepreneurs dive headfirst into the space in the panel moderated by founding member of Super Team, Kash, Dhanda as a moderator, software engineer at WordCell, Kunal Bagaria, growth lead at Solana, Soju, and CEO and the co-founder of Nation, Shea. Please welcome.
Test, test. Yeah, cool. Thank you. All right. How's everybody doing? Feeling pretty good? Yeah? All right. Welcome to this panel. This is on being a young crypto founder. My name is Kash Dhanda, Sherpa of Super Team, and I am joined by these lovely folks. I'm just delighted, actually, by the amount of talent we have on this stage. Alevtina gave some intros. I'll give a little bit more of an intro. Kunal, founder or creator of WagMe.bio, co-founder of Stellar Soul, which won second place in the payments track at the Summer Camp Hackathon, and on top of that, lead developer at WordCell, and on top of that, just killer member at Super Team. We have the hardest working man in DeFi, Soju from Solana, just crushing it all the time, and then we have Ryan, formerly intern at Solana Labs, now killing it on his own, and the host of the most hyped event of all of Breakpoint, the underground go-kart race. So make sure, maybe we'll hear a little bit more about that.
Yes, it's tomorrow. Thank you for the plug on that.
Anytime, buddy, anytime. All right, so before we get started here, I want to get a sense of the audience. Can you just put your hand up if you are under 40 years old? Just see. All right, so most people under 40. Can you put your hand up if you're under 30? A little bit, maybe like half the audience. Anyone here under like 25? Okay, we got a few. Anyone here under 20? Raise up. Yeah, all right, good. So we have Kunal as the youngest. Okay, cool. So we'll try to cater some of the questions in the conversation around that. Where I wanted to start, and what I think is really interesting about you guys being 17, 21, and 21 or so, is you grew up in a world where crypto was always a thing, right? For people my age, I'm 31, it kind of came later in life. And I'm just curious in like how that influences your worldview and how you kind of came to know about crypto in the first place. Why don't we start off with Ryan here?
Sure, yeah. So there is not a world that I remember that does not have the entire internet's wealth of information and digital payments at my fingertips. Right when my consciousness and all of our consciousnesses were forming, I saw an orange coin go up to $1,000, and I was like, Dad, you need to buy some. And he said, Ryan, go outside. And so that kind of started the journey. A few years later, I snuck into an event and then realized that actually there's a whole industry around this orange coin, and now there's a coin called Ethereum. In terms of my worldview, I think it's pretty interesting how we are going to be not only the generation that implements and hopefully brings it to have uptake for everybody our age, but also helps educate and bring it to generations above us as well. It's been really interesting that to see how most people our age have interacted with this new realm of crypto and everything, but still we still have such a long way to go. I don't know. I'm meandering with my answer. In terms of my worldview, I mean, I just don't know a world without this, right? And so it's so natural to be existing within it and also helping with my multiple year journey, understanding why it's interesting.
Sorry. So on the implementation of it, it's quite interesting. I'm a heavy finance student, so I started off learning about bonds, risk assets, all of that thing. And while I was in school learning about all of this, you will see that orange coin going up, be defying all sorts of financial wisdom. And one day I was like, screw this shit, screw all of these textbooks, it's a waste of my time, I'm going to DeFi. I was supposed to go to the TradFi world, and somehow or other, I'm now on the other side trying to kill TradFi using like our fancy technology and stuff. And it's been extremely fun doing so.
Yeah, for me it was quite interesting actually. So my brother actually first mined some Bitcoin back in 2015 or something. And yeah, at that time I didn't know much about like the implementation of smart contracts and stuff. It was just Bitcoin at that time. But actually the interesting thing is that I heard about Solana before Ethereum. So I didn't know about Ethereum coin, but I didn't know that we could implement smart contracts and programs in Ethereum before Solana. So Solana was actually my first.
Fantastic. Find him young. I think it's great. Speaking of find you young, so Kunal, you are 17 now, if I'm not mistaken, and you've dropped out of high school to work in crypto full time, which I think is awesome, and also like a little scary. I'm curious on like how you thought about the trade-offs, and in particular how your parents kind of thought of the trade-offs. Did you have to like convince them and sell them on it? Were they kind of open? How was that whole process?
So I think the trade-off was quite simple. So I could go about the traditional route of going to college and then getting a degree and getting a job somewhere or starting my own business. But I took a more interesting route and saw what I could be if I went about this. And yeah, my parents were quite supportive, so they were quite open to like me about leaving, like me about dropping out of school and college.
Nice. A shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Bagaria here.
Yeah.
How about your friends? Like, what do your friends think about what you do right now? Because they're presumably like going to movies and playing video games and whatever, and you're here building decentralized publishing stacks and all this kind of crazy stuff. What do they think you actually do all day?
So I'm not in touch with my old friends, but most of my new friends are like online. I've only seen them a few times.
So you've had to like kind of leave your old friends behind, and now you're just hanging out with old men like me online in a non-creepy way.
My friends have no idea what I do.
Same.
Do they ask? Are they like, you know, what's going on right now, or they just ignore it entirely?
I think because they are supportive of me, they're interested in learning. But once I bring out the jargon, I see the light in their eyes fade a little bit, and they're just like, okay, let's go back to eating dinner. But I mean, I think that this is part of something that, like, hey, we need to educate. We are going to be the people that can sit our friends down and hopefully at some point build software that, you know, they can use and understand and get the concepts themselves. But I still think it's challenging for a lot of people to get over that first hump.
Is it perceived as cool for people your age? Again, people who kind of grew up with crypto, like for people my age, it's kind of like new and novel and you're working on something exciting. For like the younger generation, is it like still considered cool? Are your friends going to look up and it's aspirational what you're doing?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Soju, you seem a little less sure.
I'm thinking about it. Like, I think something interesting for me is that even my friends, even though they are younger, they think it's a scam. Because they learn the TradFi way and they see what we're doing that goes against their understanding. So they're like, this is wrong, that is wrong. But so we're not quite there yet, even for my friends, even though they are like 21 years old, they still think that it's a scam, like my parents. So
okay, I guess some things never change then.
yeah.
That is good to hear. So, Ryan, I want to come back to you. So you were an intern at the Solana Foundation for like 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, my official title was intern, but I did expand beyond that.
You were critical to the operations, crushed it at the Dubai Hacker House. I saw you there a year ago, and so on.
Yes.
But what I'm interested in is like how you knew, or like was there a moment where you kind of felt that you had the ability and the confidence to become a founder, starting at that kind of like intern level?
Yes. Before Solana, I spent some time in the Ethereum ecosystem. So after the big 2017 run, spent time in an ecosystem that has a lot of the same energy as of right now, actually, where so many ecosystem companies have raised and are building great primitives and are innovating on a new platform. And so seeing that and having everybody around me saying, oh, Solana has that same potential, I was like, oh, well, I remember the sort of blueprint from what Ethereum projects and blue chips went on to do. Now we're in kind of the exact same spot. I mean, history rhymes. It's not the exact same. And so it just made sense. And I'm very grateful to have spent a few years working at Solana Labs, helping build the network and the ecosystem, and support teams that went off to go have, millions of daily active users with their product. Yes, it was great to work with you guys.
Coming back to this, I think it's very important to like get experience and working in teams before you become a founder. So that was a major reason why I started full-time work before I decided to be a founder. So yeah, that was kind of a side project for me, and then I moved on to Virtual Club.
Yeah, I started my first company when I was 17. And I tried being an entrepreneur for 4 years, and I hated every moment of it. So it was so tough. I was on my own, making ends meet, running 10K a month of losses. And then I joined Solana, and I'm like, thank God, someone to learn from, money on the food on the table. I'm gonna relax a bit for that for a while before trying my own thing, but hopefully soon.
What kind of attracted you to Solana specifically, and more generally, do you have any advice to founders who are looking to attract top talent? Who's young?
I think I spent a lot of time in DeFi, so I've jumped from team to team. Almost all of the top 10 teams I spent some time in. I met all the founders, and really what attracted me to Solana is just how warm and friendly the team is, and how much I respect the founder, Rooter. So I think I'm staying at Solana. One of the biggest reasons is just that Rooter takes good care of us, me, respects me for what I do, and is always willing to teach me and help me grow as a person. So it's really the best place for me.
Yeah, just so that mentorship ends up being pretty important. And I think for some of the older people in this crowd who might be looking to mentor young people as well, are there any things that you guys look for in a mentor, or things that you want to get out of mentors that make them more effective?
So I think an experienced mentor who has built successful projects or built companies up from the ground to the fully successful level, I think that's very important to look for when looking for a mentor.
Any important mentors for you, Ryan?
So many, yes. I stand on the shoulders of all of the mentors that have helped me over the past years. In a mentorship, I don't know. Obviously, I'm still forming a notion of what all mentorships and relationships can look like. But my most successful, both peers and people that I look up to and have helped mentor me, end up just being very strong friendships as well. I think, a lot of people have asked me hey, how can I get a mentor? It's you can't go to a grocery store and go buy a mentor, right? I think it was a very big unlock for me to realize that it's actually just being genuine, and if you interact with enough people, the mentorship will feel natural, and it won't feel like I am exchanging value and you are, hello mentor, I am meeting you, please mentor me. In many cases, just the silliest of things are where I've learned the most from people I look up to.
Makes sense. If you don't tell people how you truly feel, what are your true concerns and struggles, then people can mentor you, right? So you must go around, be genuine. Took me some time to find Solana. I went through like 12 teams or something, so it takes time.
That's right. I think what's also interesting, I know, Kunal, you and I know each other the best on this panel. I know you're actually mentoring other people in the DAO right now, right? How's that process been for you?
So not officially, obviously I'm not mentoring anyone, but like if someone is looking up to me, then that's great. And if they ask questions to me, I obviously answer them and help them in any way possible. So yeah, there's no official mentorship. I don't think I'm ready to take that role yet for being a mentor, but yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're like halfway through, so I want to start to transition to some questions about dealing with boomers. Bum, bum, bum. So Soju, I want to start with you. Obviously at Solana, you're working with like institutional people and market makers and all these, potentially TradFi folks as well. How's that experience been being a young person, working with them? How do you go about building that credibility, building that trust?
Well, it's always a bit tough as someone who's like 21 years old trying to convince like a 40-year-old man with like $20 million in the bank to deploy some to Solana. I think what makes it very easy for me is Solana is really reputable and big, and like the name Soju is slightly known. So when people meet me in person, first they will be in shock of like how young I look, especially if I shave. So I kind of keep a beard a bit to look a bit older, and just get the connection going, the foundations of the relationship there first, before people start to like truly know how youthful of a mindset I personally have. And because my team is just such a careful and experienced team, they trust the code, they trust our mechanisms in place. So it's actually pretty easy. I think I've personally brought in almost 20 million in TVL recently, in like just pure BD talking to people.
Very impressive. Has it caused any problems? Like, have there been any blow-ups with people who are like, I'm not going to talk to you, you're too young, that kind of thing?
I think it's a bit awkward trying to like go around saying that, oh, I'm the BD guy, like talk to me, I'm the BD guy. Because like, let's face it, like, a founder or a rich person don't want to talk to the salesman essentially. So I do a lot of things other than BD in my role. So I know certain verticals of Solana very well. And people talk to me for those verticals specifically, like listing new tokens and stuff is under me. So there's a reason to talk to me, yeah. And that's nice.
I'm interested in your two upbringings, but for me, it's been quite natural to work with people that are much, much older than me because I am an only child, and so and the youngest person in my generation is like actually a decade older than me, and so I'm kind of like, are you the mistake, Ryan? Like, we don't know. But I've been with people in my family and from a very young age imprinted to be like, okay, you can speak with adults very naturally. So I'm curious if you two have had similar experiences.
For me, I think there has been no discrimination against, for me, speaking with older people was quite natural, actually. So I work with folks who are like 30, 35, 40, so yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But usually I'm surrounded by a community that's mostly full of people around my age or a little bit older than me.
I think my parents instilled in me a sense of hustler entrepreneurship. So when I was an entrepreneur, I was dealing with 40-year-old retail store owners as a kid. So when I came to crypto, I was 4 years older, and the people I dealt with became 5 or 10 years younger. So it was much easier than compared to back in the day where I was trying to convince this old shop owner to go digital and bring their products online.
So you all have kind of experience doing this for a little while then, I guess. How does it work on the management side? So Ryan, you've got a team of 10 people, I believe, at Nation or so, some of whom are, I presume, decades older than you, right?
Yes.
What's that experience like, kind of working with and managing people who might feel like they have a lot more experience than you do, but ultimately you're the leader?
Yeah, I think it's about circling back to what Soju was talking about earlier on the panel about culture, accountability, support, mentorship, all signs of a healthy organization. abstracts away a lot of the issues that can come from like, oh, you know, there's a delta of a decade between people working on the same project, or more closely, a delta of experience, or seeing some of these things over and over again. From my side, I think it's, you know, if you think about age on the x-axis, and you know, there's sort of the intersecting x of wisdom, and then you know, just pure excitement to understand a problem. It's about like finding that intersection point where there's a person that has the wisdom to inform some of the new thinking. And so in that regard, I think we have some really nice interplay where, you know, we have people coming from exceptional organizations that have seen a lot of these companies succeed, and then people asking, like my co-founder Diego, who's like, why are we doing this at all, right? And so it allows a lot more first principles thinking to be like, okay, well, this is why it's been happening, this is why we should do it, and then questioning, saying, okay, no, why are we doing it at all? So, you know, it's a nice interplay. I think the most important thing is obviously having a healthy organization. If you have great people, the barriers of or delta between experience or age or location or time zone fade away, in my opinion.
Makes sense. All right, I got another kind of like general boomerish question here. Are there any like misconceptions you guys run into when you're dealing with like older people, or what do you think that the older generation might get wrong about, you know, Gen Z in crypto here?
I think a lot of people, when we first say that we work in crypto, we don't all go rocket emoji to the moon. That's not what all the Gen Z does. So
You don't speak in memes to each other? That's not what's going on behind the scenes?
no,
We
that
do.
does happen.
We do
speak
speak in
in
memes.
memes.
The panel's diverging a little bit, yeah. Anything else that you guys have encountered, like either misconceptions or prejudices? It feels in general that crypto is probably friendlier to young talent than you might find in like finance or whatever else. So maybe it's not too much of an issue. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, definitely the crypto doesn't place as much emphasis on your age, your degree, or whatever. So I actually got the job at Solana before Ruther realized that I was a dropout of college. So he sort of like, I told him that, oh yeah, I have a diploma. Then he asked me which college, and I was like, college? What's that?
It's my middle school diploma you just showed.
Yeah, it's a high school diploma in accounting. Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about crypto. Is like anybody with a Discord ID, Twitter handle, and internet connection can go out there, prove themselves, and climb the crypto ladder of sorts, and that's fun.
Yeah, I guess I won't be able to show a diploma as well.
Yeah, I think very similar experience when I first started working. Nobody knew how old I was, and I kind of like to play the game of like, how old do you think I am? Like, will you ever find out? Because again, it's back to impact, showing up. If you're actually like shipping things and making it, you know, a noticeable difference versus, oh, I have the credentials to be able to come in. I don't know, in the same like ideological principles of crypto and, you know, decentralization of credentialism. I think it's great, right? I mean, like some of the most premier security researchers at Paradigm are younger than, you know, you. They're like
Yes.
14, 15, right?
TS11.
Yeah, I mean,
transition.
Shots fired.
no, I mean, but you know, they have 200,000 followers and are, you know, sort of impacting the space in a thought leadership way, and like their profile photo on Twitter is like an anime picture, right? It's a really interesting leveling effect that this whole space has.
When you guys are looking for new talent to join your teams, do you even consider age at all, or is it like genuinely not relevant in the way that you think about things?
No, I don't think age is relevant at all. So it's like if you have a good proof of work, and you can complete the task effectively. So I think that's about it. You don't need to be of any level of age or anything.
I think age matters depending on the job that you want to do. So like for Solan, maybe if you want like a risk quant, someone to like analyze each asset, simulate it, make sure that nothing can affect it. You need someone who is an ex-TradFi, quant, PhD in math, older. But if you need someone to be in like my position, just go to fly all around the world constantly, getting jet 24/7, meeting people with as much energy as possible. I think young age becomes a plus, and like it will be considered, but it's not considered like young is bad, old is good.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the gotcha, right? It's like, as much as we want age to not matter, I think it's a fallacy to say, oh, we can truly abstract it away. Like, you know, on being a founder, as the title of this panel, right? Like, hey, you know, it wouldn't be as interesting as if we were talking about our particular stage in life. Yeah, it's tough. It's like the core conflict. I think we have like a few more years and then nobody cares, right? But for like the next 2-3 years, it's like, wow, you're a child, right? Who gave you this money, right? Why are you leading a team? And then at some point, like nobody really, well, no, that's not true. It's always relevant.
Hopefully.
Yeah. There's also an element, I think, and Kunal, we've talked about this in the past, right, is that like if you have this young thing right now, it is like an attractive story. It's like a reason people are in the audience right now. There's like a human fascination piece to it. So you almost like have to play on that in order to like really, you know, take maximal advantage. Do you guys find yourselves like kind of prefacing that yourselves, or do you feel a little bit more how do you feel about being on a panel called being a young crypto founder? Does that feel weird, or does that feel like a normal state of affairs now?
I think if you asked me 6 months ago, I think it would have been a different answer, but I think it's gotten pretty normal to have young people in this ecosystem now. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that much now.
Yeah, I think I lean on towards being shy. So like Soju is not my real name. My team is like probably the most anonymous and secretive team in DeFi. So most of my partners don't know my age. They just know that I'm young, unless I have my beard. So yeah, I guess I'm doxing myself a bit, getting ready to come out into the light and like let people know. Yeah.
I think for me, it's always challenging because it's, again, a core conflict. It's like, okay, I want it not to define, but unfortunately, it's like, yeah, you have to mention it. I think for me, it's more, hey, this is possible, right? Like, people watching at home, or if you're watching this on YouTube, like, I didn't do anything special, right? Like, we just showed up. I snuck into an event. It was 21 plus. I was 15, right? Like, you know, there are no barriers if you don't create them yourself, right? And for me, giving back and showing that, you know, if it's your dream to become a crypto founder, start a Twitter account, put an anime profile picture, and start coding. Like, you might get a seed round led by a world-renowned venture capital firm and be able to hire a team and go off and build. And like, that's some of the most empowering opportunity that I think has existed for young people ever, period.
I think it's fantastic, and that helps kind of segue us into the last piece of this, which is the advice corner for anyone who might be watching at home. So some nice advice there. Get an anime profile picture and start to get active on Twitter. I think that's pretty good. Kunal, any advice that you would give to like other young talent looking to break into the space? What can they learn from what you did and how you got in?
So I think just trying things differently and like just trying different things can be a huge factor in getting successful. So yeah, even me, when I joined Super Team, I just clicked a link actually. So yeah, then I got a call with you and joined it. So it was a whole journey from there, but the initial thing was that I tried, and yeah.
Yeah, actually, Kunal got in by building a Discord bot when no one asked him to build one. And so that was the way to get in. It's just
I remember
like do
that bot.
stuff.
It's a good bot.
It's a good bot. It's as good as they come. It's a meme bot, actually, ironically enough. Soju, any advice that you would give to people trying to break in the space?
Yeah, I think that's something about Kunal did. Start small, find something you can do and improve yourself. So you build a Discord bot. I started replying questions on Discord. So it's about like starting where you can, improving 1% each day. So I went from Solan's Discord channel reply guy to Solan's head of BD and growth. And if
Discord is building careers.
and like if
Spend
you
more
look
time on
at Sushi Swap's Maki, he started off the same, replying questions on Discord, and then now he's like one of the most respected Ethereum DeFi people.
Clear theme coming, so like get onto Discord for sure. Ryan, from the advice on your side, I'd love to hear, because I'm sure there's some investors in the audience here, as like a younger founder, and a lot of investors want younger founders with new, fresh ideas, high risk appetites. What do founders like you look for in investors, or like what can investors do to help attract more young founders to their rosters?
I think I just went through the process of fundraising. I think, again, circling back to what we were talking about, active mentorship and being present is a huge unlock for younger founders that might not have as many reps as some of the older folks in the broader ecosystem. The question was founders for investors or investors for founders?
Advice for investors to attract founders.
Investors to attract founders.
How they can differentiate themselves is the idea.
I think it speaks volumes to put your money where your mouth is and give back to the community. I think some of the names that pop out to me and the people that have impacted my journey had fellowships or internships or programs for people to, at the very least, like have a conversation with an investor. Being accessible is very important. The way you show up in a space, the way that you, again, interact with other younger folk, right? I think it's very challenging to support somebody if they will say something to you and then completely dunk on another young person that might be at a completely different stage. That's for me. I think the biggest thing, giving back through fellowships, internships, programs, offsites. I would love to see more of that in the ecosystem.
Love it. Super tactical advice. Fantastic. I think we're just about out of time, so thank you to my three panelists here.
Thank you.
Make sure you check out the Underground Go-Kart race tomorrow. What time is that at, Ryan?
The bear market rally is at the center of Lisbon. It is underneath the park next to Carlos Lopez. Doors open at 1:30.
Fantastic. Check out Chirp by WordCell, new XNFT that is launching. Go put some money and get a loan from Solend, and check out Super Team Earn. If you're looking for young talent, we have a bunch of people in there in our new talent directory. So check that out. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
See
you.
you around.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
This is fascinating what younger founders can achieve and add to the space. Both young founders and more experienced ones have to deal with accounting. And we all know that taxes are complicated. But are they as complicated in crypto? If you're building in a space and struggling with translating the on-chain activity into the accounting-friendly format, this might be the session for you. Let's learn together about tools and techniques on how to deal with taxes in crypto from Web3 and crypto lead at Propeller Industries, Sam Leichman.
Thank you. Wow, I am the least cool person in this room by far. Very exciting to see the young founders up. I certainly do not qualify as young or a founder, but good to be on the same or adjacent stage with these guys. So just to kick things off for a second, would love to get a sense from the audience. How many people here are founders or a part of a founding team? Great. Hopefully, well, you're here listening to me instead of going to lunch, which means that accounting is sort of interest. And I also want to thank the organizers for not putting the accounting talk directly after lunch, which has happened before, and it's not a good scene. Want to start out with, well, just introduce myself. I lead the practice area at Propeller. Propeller Industries, we were founded 15 years ago, really with the intent to provide full stack CFO down to staff accounting services for VC-backed startups. So the thought is, as founders in this room, you know, your focus should be on building your product, selling your product, and scaling your product, not having a perfect instance of QuickBooks or spending a ton of time digging into forecasting and modeling. And at the same time, there really isn't 40 hours of work in a week to have a full-time CFO to do the strategic work for you. Our approach is fractional. You get an entire team, CFO, director of FP&A, accounting manager, which is a controller, and then a whole offshore staff accounting team. That's more about us. Happy to talk about this at greater length. So as I mentioned, we were founded 15 years ago. My role had been in the SaaS practice, serving as CFO for traditional SaaS businesses. And we were in our resourcing meeting, and somebody came in and said, we've got a new client. They do something in crypto, blockchain, Bitcoin. I've got no idea what they do. Who wants it? I raised my hand. That client ended up being Solana Labs. And it was really my first step down the rabbit hole. Early on, it was very apparent that Solana and other clients that came after them had the same issues that our other SaaS and other VC-backed clients had in terms of making sure that accounting and finance had to get squared away. But there was an entirely other layer that had to get taken into account, and that really was crypto finance and crypto accounting. And we really had the pleasure of going deep with some terrific projects. We're currently working, Propeller at large has about 400 clients. We represent about 15% of the total. Here are some select engagements. Obviously, these are the logos that you're probably familiar with, but we really start working with clients at the pre-seed and seed stage, but really when you've raised your first bit of money and you're not a founder wearing every hat under the sun, and it makes sense to get the support. All right, well, let's start out with the kind of most boring piece of this. And this is your fintech stack and the professional services that you're going to need to really support what you're doing. I'm not going to go through, you're probably very familiar with the functions and the vendors that we've got listed on the left here. It's your payroll, it's your AP. What is important, and what I'll be touching on in greater length, is your crypto subledger. But all of these really roll up into your general ledger, which is where your P&L, balance sheet, cash flow is. And it's really kind of where that's the start of the work that we do once we've compiled everything and we're able to go deep and do some, quite frankly, more interesting analysis than just delivering a three-statement set of financials. Again, we'll touch on that in a second. Maybe a little bit out of the scope of what was originally promised here, I do want to touch on professional services, because I think that's incredibly important. And by the way, I'm not talking about the professional services that Propeller provides. I'm talking about your outsourced tax, outsourced legal, and any outsourced regulatory. But it is vitally important when you're going through and you're setting up your business to have advisors who are working in the crypto space. This is, you don't want a law firm that does startups and maybe they're dealing with a SaaS business one day, a dog food company the next, and maybe you're the Thursday call that they're having to talk about structures. This pertains exactly to crypto. If you're thinking about related entities in the Caymans, you want someone who's thinking about this and not other stuff. Incidentally, too, if you are looking for referrals, we work with boutique firms up to Big Four, up to White Shoe, up to DC lobby firms. And I'm happy to make any introductions or referrals that you guys might need. My contact's at the end. Okay, so now getting into things a little bit more. And I think this is really sort of the gist of the presentation. But you know, to sum up what is crypto accounting, it's bringing on-chain activity to your general ledger. Could be QuickBooks, could be NetSuite. And you know, yes, I would love to say that we can do all this stuff in our heads, and the fact of the matter is 4 years ago we were doing it all in Google Sheets and in Excel. Didn't work out that well, but luckily for us, there came the rise of crypto subledgers. And what these technologies do is, like I said, they basically are able to take on-chain activity and package, based on rules that we create, relevant journal entries for the P&L, and that could be the form of for revenue, cost of sales, any other expenses. And basically what is important here is saying, if you sell, if you spend in crypto, those transactions need to be priced when those, at the time that that happens. And for revenue, obviously that's money coming in that's going to eventually lead to potentially income tax. But the other piece, and I'll probably mention this once or twice down the road, when you have expenditures, whether it is cost of sales in crypto, expenses, which might be paying employees, could be paying vendors, could be paying contractors, any outflow is treated as a disbursement and could be another taxable event. So again, really critical that you're tracking your basis. We'll get to that on the balance sheet in a second. But also on the P&L, you can see that you've got at the top line revenue, cost of sales, some expenses. You also have gains and loss, and that's what your realized gain and loss position is on the outflow of your expenses and cost of sales. Stepping over to the balance sheet, again, another theme that you're going to be hearing about, the way that crypto and digital assets are treated today is funky. They're considered intangible assets. There's some changes going on now that I'm going to touch on. But essentially, you have to be tracking and reporting your crypto and digital assets at the lower of cost or impaired value. This leads to really a balance sheet that is fundamentally broken. Talk a little bit more about that in a second. One more point on the subledger. Not all subledgers are created equal, although they all may be good quality, or many are good quality. Some subledgers are better with Solana, others are better with Ethereum, and it really is depending on the work that you're doing to select the right one. Also, one other point on this. This slide makes it all look very easy. One of the things that I learned, and one of the things I tell our new accountants who join my practice is you have to be a little bit of a detective if you're going to be working within crypto and Web3. And what that means is you are, I don't think we can ever just pull a report from a subledger and have it just run perfectly. There can be issues on chain, there can be issues in terms of a client not giving us all the wallets, there could be issues with the subledger system itself. But there are really two kinds of accountants in the world. People who got into accounting because they want to have their daily routine, weekly reconciliations, every other week doing payroll. And then there are people who are willing to kind of color outside of the lines. And that's where I think the teams, the accountants that thrive in crypto are willing to work with imperfect rules and imperfect systems. That's kind of how it's done. And I think if you stop there, there are significant challenges that we're facing right now. You know, the original role of the balance sheet was to track what you own, your assets, what you owed, your liabilities, and what was been invested in you. That's your equity. As I said earlier, you have no visibility to your liquidity by looking at a crypto startup's balance sheet. Again, you're looking at the lower of cost or impaired value, and it just doesn't make any sense anymore. Additionally, it used to be if you were a startup, treasury was like a third rail. If you were a seed, Series A, or even Series B, you would not, the idea of doing anything with a venture investor's money, aside from putting it specifically to your business, could cost your job. They don't want founders getting cute. They don't want founders to do anything with their money about getting yield except to put it into the company. Obviously, treasury is now a thing, and that is now, I think that it's a thing, but it's also turned into this amorphous term. I think if you have 5 crypto founders or crypto finance people in a room, ask them the definition of treasury, you're going to get 9 different answers. But it really encapsulates a lot. And I think it also then also, if you look at the balance sheet, it doesn't help you at all. So kind of summing up, the issues here are, right now, you don't have visibility on your full liquidity or a breakdown of what your digital assets are. One last point on a FASB ruling that is in effect, or that has been a FASB statement that came out last month, was that there is going to be a move towards fair value pricing. There has not been a date set. Our estimate is that this will not go into effect before 2024. Also, what has been stated along with that is that it's not going to include all digital assets like NFTs. So there's more to this than this is not going to necessarily be the panacea that will clean everything up. But getting back to, really the state of this, summing up the challenges, like I said, there's no visibility on your full liquidity or the breakdown of your digital assets. You still are going to need to be tracking basis and your sitting tax liability. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you can't measure your crypto treasury, you can't manage it. And I think that's the state of US GAAP and how you have to be doing it, at least on the reporting side. Now, how are we addressing this? Everything up here is really just intuitive. This isn't proprietary. I think we were probably among the first to kind of roll this out. But this is what we call our statement of digital assets. And the solution really is almost a 4th financial statement. And you can see here, we're building this out. We start with the number that I mentioned that is representative on the balance sheet. I think we have 11.7 million, 11.8 million, and that'll tie out. But the next thing we do is we say, okay, well, how do we build that? Where is this coming from? And then we go and we just bring in by wallet, by token, and get to a real understanding of what builds to that cost basis, which is great. Now you can understand what's actually on the balance sheet. But then you take it a step further and say, well, let's actually get this to fair market value. I'm going to speak about this in a second. A funny thing is, if you've spun up your own native token and it hasn't been circulated yet, it sits on your balance sheet at a 0 cost basis. Again, you're not seeing the full liquidity picture. But as you start kind of digging in and double clicking, you bring this out, you can actually have a sense of your liquidity, a sense of the fair market value, and then you can begin to say, well, what do each of these wallets do? How can I begin to make sense at a greater level and begin to make it so it really begins to, give me a platform to make actionable decisions on. So here you have your full liquidity picture. One of the first things we do, in addition to all of the work that I mentioned earlier, is we bring your cash in. That is cash and stablecoins in. We also, you may have off wallet and off balance sheet essentially receivables in the form of, let's say, loans to market makers that are not going to show up, but that is a part of your full liquidity picture. So really getting it all on one page so you can actually say this is what you have is kind of our first start. But this is where I think it begins to get, kind of fun. I mentioned, some of the challenges of, how do you look at what your native token is worth? Well, you have, if it's listed, you can, get to a value, but you're also going to be sitting on a bunch of tax liability because you have a zero cost basis. There's going to be a discount if you try to unload half of the existing tokens in one fell swoop. So being able to just, again, it goes beyond just having one number for a full liquidity. You also, once you have this down, you've got the opportunity to really jump into planning and forecasting. And I think, look, cash is still king. Cash is what will, when your investors ask you what your cash out date, your burn rate is, they want to know that in terms of US dollars. Again, when you look at the balance sheet, you need to be able to break out your cash position and be able to then take a look at really what is your expenses and divide that out by your sitting cash. Also, when you begin to take a longer view, you can start doing some tax planning, creating designated wallets for tax loss and gain harvesting. And then finally, if you're sitting on a bunch of different tokens, this can get to be a little bit of an exercise in fantasy, but you can say, well, what are some scenarios? What if Solana goes back to its highs? What is the upside case for my sitting of your native currency? But you're then able to run some sensitivities and really get a much fuller picture of your entire liquidity, like I mentioned. Getting into tax. And yeah, it's time for lunch almost. I'm not going to go through the bullet points here. Crypto tax in general can have multiple sessions just dedicated to it. And it is a very much an evolving framework. A few points that I do want to make here. IRS requires payment in US dollars based on when money was earned, full stop. I had a conversation over the summer with a PFP project that sold out of their, in Q4, $7.5 million, all in Ethereum, great work. Only issue was when I spoke to them in June, they hadn't sold any of their ETH. That means that their revenue was priced at $4,000 or so per ETH. Sitting value of ETH in June was around 1,300. They had to sell all of their proceeds, and even still, they did not have enough to pay their taxes, let alone any profits to take for themselves. So this is a real thing. When you make money, put it into a stablecoin facility, make sure that you take your tax dollars and take them off the table. Additionally, I mentioned this earlier, when you look at sort of a single unit economic model, there can be multiple tax events when you have revenue coming in that hits you as income tax. You have expenses and cost of sales going out. You're opening yourself up again to essentially your cap gains on your sitting assets that you're using for expenses. And then finally, the last thing to think, or not the last thing, but you have payroll. You can pay your employees, you can pay your employees in your native currency. You can pay contractors. You are still responsible to pay your payroll taxes in US dollars. Your employees are responsible for paying their income in US dollars. And again, I'm talking about a US framework here. I apologize if there are other domiciled entities here. A lot of this is relatively the same. Happy to talk about this offline. But you're also required as a US entity to be putting out, getting W-8s and W-9s for all of your outflows of digital assets. And that is going to mean your contractors need to fill out forms. And even if you have foreign contractors, they still have to have a W-8 returned to you in case you get a payroll tax audit. Again, I'm an accountant. I'm going to go deep on this stuff. Sorry if I nerd out a little bit. Finally, again, this kind of goes back to the professional service slide that I had earlier. The IRS's position is evolving here, and I believe it's actually picking up speed and momentum in terms of new rules and regs. Make sure you have a good crypto tax CPA. I can't stress this enough. We work really closely with everyone from really boutique firms up to Deloitte and a bunch of regional firms in between. Happy to make referrals, but this is, you want to get this right from the outset. You can be dead on arrival if you mess things up, like I mentioned with that PFP project. Finally, why GAAP? Why are we here today? Obviously, I think everyone is, no one's ran for the doors yet for lunch, which I appreciate. But I think that ultimately, you know, it's like, how is the business doing? At the end of every month, you know, how are you doing compared to where you thought you'd be doing? How much are you going to owe in taxes? And, you know, I'd say, again, what's probably near and dear to everyone's heart here is, what is your runway? And I think there's a fourth point too that kind of dawned on me this morning. Ultimately, you know, if you're seed or Series A, when you start looking at Series B and probably Series A, you know, the balance of power is shifting more to the VC side. I think you're all probably seeing that. They're going to be requiring more stringent reporting, and when you go out for future rounds, there's going to be demand to say, is your financial house in order? And being able to have good books that adhere to GAAP, that a finance-minded investor can jump in, look at, and check off that box is going to be worth its weight in gold. Going back and fixing this when you're trying to get around together is, in times, not possible. Second, use the tools and services that work best for you. Find the service providers that you've got good relationships with. Find, as I mentioned, a subledger system that is really designed for where you're building. And, you know, getting finally into treasury management, it's about really understanding the full picture. And I think, you know, I'll go super boring on this. It's understanding the full picture. I think it's also about making sure that your tax liability is taken care of. You know, you guys are getting investors in with the promise of building something cool. If they want to invest in a hedge fund, they're going to invest in a hedge fund. You shouldn't be worried about trying to get yield on your sitting venture money. Anyway, that I can spend a little bit longer on that as well. And then finally, regulatory regimes are evolving. Just, you know, this is not a static set of rules that come out at the beginning of the year. Just be aware that, you know, times are changing and they're getting clarified, and will probably impact anyone who's touching digital assets as part of their business moving forward. So with that, we've got a little bit of time for questions. Happy to take any questions from the audience.
A question about liquidation cascades. I read that they're basically taxing liquidations as capital gains, and I'm just still trying to wrap my mind around that.
Are you looking at from a VC perspective, or
no, just like a trader perspective?
Yeah. No, if you're whatever you are selling, it's a disposition, and there's a cost basis associated with it. You know, if you want to think about it in the same framework as you know, it's like any other investment.
What about microphone? What about if an MEV bot was doing liquidations and they were buying and selling your token? Like I was in a situation where I basically had collateral in a lending platform, and then an MEV bot was basically liquidating it, but I wasn't, and I basically had taken like a loan out, and I'm trying to figure out if I should pay money on my loan because loans are not taxable, or if I have to pay money on the liquidation itself. Maybe it's more complicated than you can answer right now, but something I've been trying to figure out.
I will actually say this is exactly why you need a really good crypto CPA. That's an excellent question. Let me get back to you offline. There's that scenario, and there are some other staking constructs that make breaking out your original position and any rewards or activity that goes on once you kind of lose domain and control. It gets fuzzy quick, and this is also where I think regulatory and clarity, I should say, is going to be very helpful. But please follow up with me. I'd love to dig in a little bit deeper, though. Anyone else? We can talk tax, accounting. Everyone having fun? No. Oh.
Hello? Okay, thanks so much for the presentation. I just had some clarification based on what you said. So I think you're calling it like a crypto subledger or whatever service. That itself is not something you guys provide. So when you reach out to a company or they reach out to you and let's say they need a record of all the transactions and all the categories so they can go into like QuickBooks Online or whatever, that software service itself that I just described, the one that actually interacts with the blockchain, that's not something you guys provide. Do you guys have like recommendations for their partners? How does that look like?
Yeah, so we work very closely with a number of subledgers. Bitwave, Cryptio, Trace, Tactic. Again, please reach out to me. I'm happy to talk about any and all. I know the founders of each of those very well. And like I said, it's the process there is, you provide your wallets, you provide any custodial services, and then their systems extract the data. Some work better with different chains than others, and it's an evolving field. And but yeah, happy to make referrals there.
Thank you.
Oh. Anyone else? Yeah, so I guess thank you all. I think, again, it sounds complicated, and it's as much process-driven as really anything in accounting. And, I think about for an average crypto startup, I'd say it's 50 to 60% the same work that you'd be doing if you're working with a SaaS business. It really is just understanding the nuances, understanding where the pitfalls are with tax, understanding the necessary additions, like we're talking about with the subledger, to your tech stack that really gets a little bit out of the norm. But yeah, I think that we are going to get greater surety with all of this in the coming months and probably a couple of years. And probably us as a specialty will become less specialized because there's going to be more people doing this. But anyway, I really appreciate everyone's time, and please feel free, get in touch with me, happy to talk. There's no serious project that I won't spend 40 minutes chatting with. Again, I fell into this world about 4 years ago, and it's, for a finance accounting guy, this is, I think I have more fun than any of my other colleagues at Propeller by a long shot. Anyway, thank you all so much for your time today. I hope you guys have a great conference, and please find me here till Monday, or reach out if there's any questions I can help with.
Thank you so much, Sim. Right now, we are much more educated about the taxes in crypto. In our second half of the day, we're going to look at how to run a good DAO, as well as the smart contract audit. I also would love to remind you that on your badge that you have on your necks, not only there is a QR code on the back that can tell you everything that you want to know about Breakpoint, as well as on the bottom there is a cupcake sticker where you can redeem an NFT if you haven't done it yet. Please do it because there's gonna be a collection launching and these are special threads. I kindly remind you about that rooftop that you can access through the back doors at the end of the hall. And I am more than excited to announce that we have a lunch being served right there. So let's have a half-hour break and I will see you back in our content at 1 p.m. on this stage. Thank you. Welcome back to our community stage. For those who haven't been here with us in the morning, I want to kindly remind you that we have a community voice later today, starting at 2 to 4 p.m. We will have much more content with you to share, and actually the community and your colleagues and your team members gonna be here on the stage presenting their valuable piece of content that they want to contribute with to our Breakpoint agenda. And right now, as promised, we have a few more talks for you. Lesley helped build one of the biggest US sport betting companies, FanDuel, and right now she's using her experience and skills to build the operation system for MonkeDAO. What challenges does the decentralized organization face, or how to make it successful? If these are the questions that you are facing on a daily basis, then you will be pretty interested in the next upcoming session. I am very happy to introduce on this stage founder of Moonlit, Lesley Eccles.
Hi, everyone. Hope you all had a good lunch. It's great to be here. As was just said, my name is Lesley Eccles. I am part of the MonkeDAO board. I'm a co-founder of Moonlit and co-founded FanDuel. And for those of you who aren't American and maybe don't know, FanDuel is the largest sports betting company in the US. I just checked, and the market cap is now $20 billion, which I think is twice what Solana's market cap is. So I think that's pretty awesome. Anyway, today I'm here to talk about DAOs, specifically how to run them efficiently, come with all sorts of challenges, or as... oh, we're in the wrong page. How has this happened? Now we're just going to go all the way through these. No surprises here. Back to the start. There we go. That's better. As the Breakpoint people like to say, we're going to talk about how to run a DAO good. Sorry for the grammatical error there. I'm not quite sure how that happened. For those of you who are familiar with MonkeDAO, what you know about them is, we host a bunch of IRL events. There's about 100 different MonkeDAO events on at Breakpoint at the moment. And we're constantly on Twitter and Discord, and it's a great, fun community. But there's a lot about MonkeDAO that you might not know. And first of all, we look at, what's our vision for MonkeDAO? It's really about, we want to be the premier Web3 community. We want to find, invest, and scale Web3 projects, the most exciting, the most ambitious Web3 projects out there. We want to find them and scale them. And when you look around at monkeys, and I think I see some in the audience today. Can I get a monkey cheer? When you look around at monkeys, what you see is a group of builders, passionate builders who care. What do they care about? They care about the ecosystem. They care about Web3. They care about being the best community out there. And that was what really attracted me to the community in the first place. That was important to me, to be in a community that actually cares. Now, MonkeDAO, names in the clues in the title, decentralized autonomous organization. Now, if we've learned anything over the last year, we've learned that the more decentralization exists, the more chaos exists. And I think a lot of DAOs have actually imploded because they reached maximum chaos level. And how has MonkeDAO not done that? What have we done differently that's meant that we've continued to be successful? You know, ideally, we want to be high level of decentralization, low level of chaos. How do we address that gap? Well, I think there's three things to it. The first, and arguably most important part of it, is trust. In MonkeDAO, we've implemented a process which is electing board members using a democratic voting system for 6 months at a time. So the community trusts the process that we're going to elect people who are going to do the right thing by the DAO. The DAO, the board who's then been elected, it trusts the community to allow them to take risks and occasionally make mistakes and not be called out in any kind of a toxic manner around it. And I think we've built a really good community that does that and operates in that way. Shared ownership is the other part of the puzzle. Shared ownership is much more than just holding an NFT. Shared ownership is about participation. So how has MonkeDAO encouraged participation beyond just holding an SMB? And then the third part of it, and possibly the hardest part, is coordination. In any kind of decentralized organization, trying to encourage everyone to take action in some kind of non-chaotic way is challenging when there's no leader in the room. How does that work? How do we do that? So I would argue that MonkeDAO has developed the blueprint for a community built primarily on trust and shared ownership. We have a strong value proposition that we talked through as part of the vision. We've built this non-chaotic governance system, which is decentralized in more than just name. And then importantly, we have human connection. And this is what builds the trust. The human connection in the real-life events, in the weekly town halls, in all of the Discord engagements. It's all very professional, very respectful, and importantly, supportive. And then we set objectives for ourselves. We set objectives for the epoch, and we deliver on those objectives. And that cycle engenders a huge amount of trust in the community. The piece that's missing is coordination. When I joined MonkeDAO at the start of the year, I had lots of questions when I came into the Discord. Who else is in this community? How can I get involved? I don't know any of these people. How can I just jump in and get started? Is there a token? When is there going to be a token? How would I get the token? And what does this DAO even do? Those were kind of the questions that were in my head. And I met Nom, and I got talking with him. And these were the types of problems that we were exploring over the first few months that I was involved with the DAO. And what I said was, do you know what? We could build a platform which really helps do all of this. So the important thing for me was it has to be based on principles. And the first and overriding principle is it's about the people. Everything that we do as a DAO is about the people. Communities are about people, so we're going to put them first. And then the second piece is we need to encourage the right behaviors from our members. How do we do that? We don't want to encourage mercenaries to join our DAO. We want people who are there for the good of the entire ecosystem. And then the third piece is we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We are not about building a new version of Trello or a new version of Monday.com or new LinkedIn. Like, that's kind of BS. We need something that works specifically for a Discord community that has no leader, effectively. How do we do that? So we built Moonlit. It's a collaboration and rewards app for Discord communities. First of all, it starts with a powerful database with all of our contribution histories individually in that database. There are ways in there to get involved, or as a board member, I can ask the community for help with certain projects. There are all levels of detail in there, from small, easy, fun bounties that you can get involved with to large DeFi scale projects, which are a little bit vague and need somebody to help us think through the problem. And then what we can do is, as a member of the DAO, I can easily collect my rewards for participating, and as a board member, I can easily move token between members and reward people effectively. And then, what does this let us do? So every month, we showcase and celebrate our superstars. Who are the superstars in the DAO? Who are the ones that are really helping out the most? And how do we recognize them? And we really celebrate them on our town halls every month. And we give them an NFT and all of those great things. So what does that mean for the DAO? First thing is, we've noticed a huge uptick in participation in town halls. We've got an increased transparency. We can see what everybody's working on and who's doing what. And as a new member that comes into the DAO, suddenly it all starts to make sense. There's a reduced admin overhead in terms of token distribution. So no longer do I have to go and ask for somebody's wallet ID. I can just send them token through Moonlit. And then we've got a clear record of contribution. So whenever we do launch another token, or whenever there's some kind of restricted amount of whitelist spots or perks or whatever it might be, we know who we want to give them to. And anecdotally, we hear back from members of the community, which is, you know what, I'm working for the DAO now. I wasn't before, and I love it. I'm much more involved. I was looking for ways to get involved and didn't know how, other than just posting on Twitter. And here we are, Moonlit's delivered this ability for me to get involved. And to quote Noam, without Moonlit, none of this works. And I would say with Moonlit, MonkeDAO is a force to be reckoned with. I'm very excited about what's coming next for the DAO. And I would say if you haven't bought a monkey, go out there and buy a monkey now. I think floor price is just over 200 sols, so get it now before it goes up. And if anyone's interested in finding out more about the Moonlit private beta, then feel free to reach out. My DMs are open. Love to talk anytime. Any questions? All right, we're done. Super.
Fantastic. We are much more educated about DAOs now. Whether you have a DAO organization, DeFi company, or an NFT project, you definitely thought about auditing your smart contracts inside. But what if smart contracts are not enough? Let's dive into the security details together with co-founders and directors of Neodime, Thomas Lambertz and Mr. Tobias Madl.
All right, welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk to you about who controls the smart contract, why auditing the code is not enough.
Exactly. It's very awesome to be here again. The community grew by a lot, and I'm very thankful for that. We just sneak peeked on the chain, and we have like an increase of 4 times that much smart contracts deployed from last year, and that's super awesome. However, we can audit only so many, so we try our best. But whenever you're planning to release a new one, try to contact us and we'll have a look probably. So who's this handsome dude next to me? That's Thomas. He's a security researcher at Neodime and has a background in electrical engineering, computer engineering, and loves playing CTFs, hacking some Solana contracts, hacking some Ethereum contracts. And if you want to dig deeper on him, he has a Twitter handle at Lambertz.
Yeah, and this fellow next to me is Tobias Madl. He's also a security researcher, actually got started with like cars, so like really far away from blockchain right now, getting to like really into hacking cars and stuff. He's actually writing a PhD right now, but like way back in 2020, before even Solana really took off, we got into Solana security and like really started digging deep there. So as a company, we are Neodime. Like we are only 2 people. We have a team of like 18 people now. We are just looking into all kinds of security. Within blockchain, we're focusing on Solana. And in the beginning, we've actually focused on Solana core a bit and found some bugs there and really helped like Solana solidify like the base layer of the code to make that secure. And then we kind of moved on to smart contracts and took a lot of looks there and also found like quite some critical bugs which are all fixed now. And we're kind of here to help ensure that the ecosystem just like stays more secure. We're constantly working towards that. And we have some exciting things coming up.
Exactly, exactly. So we're here to make things more secure, and what's the things? Well, it's the smart contracts. And as you probably know, smart contracts are pretty perfect, aren't they? Like they're immutable, they are often fully audited and secure, they're feature complete and permissionless. So in one sentence, simply perfect. And if you even have it closed source, there's absolutely no way that somebody will find bugs in there, so we should probably all invest our money, shouldn't we?
Yeah. I think you've got some points not quite exactly right. I think there are some points here that are like worth discussing. So like immutability, I mean, smart contracts would be nice if they were immutable, but in practice, you have bugs, you want new features, so smart contracts can be upgraded. Fully audited and secure, that's also a point. Many contracts are audited, many are not, and even those that are, sometimes they introduce new features, and you can't do a full audit for every new feature. So that's also maybe something that's not always true.
Exactly.
Feature completeness, that's also, again, like, the ecosystem is evolving so fast. You have to be able to introduce new features into your protocols, and there has to be a way to do that. Permissionless, well, that's the dream, right? Just like nobody has to trust anybody, it's all permissionless, it works perfectly. But in practice, like if you want to introduce a new feature, if you want to fix a bug, there has to be like some kind of thing that can decide that. So there has to be some kind of permission somewhere. And simply perfect, well, no code is perfect. Especially complex code, the more complex the project is, there will always be like some kinds of things which are worth changing or like worth fixing. So nobody is perfect.
Exactly. So is finding vulnerabilities in smart contracts without source even possible?
That's an interesting question. I'm glad you asked. Well, yes, it is even possible. So we've been working on something up there. We can't quite announce it yet, but like you should probably watch our blog closely. We will have some stuff coming up with closed source contract there soon.
Interesting, interesting. So do we have to be frightened about now? Is all smart contracts by default insecure or what is it?
Well, no, of course not. Like we're still in crypto. The cryptography is sane, the base layer are mostly sane, so like we can build secure software on top of this. And like many smart contracts are secure. But there's this thing, these upgrade authorities, which I think are, especially on Solana right now, not as much like highlighted as they should be because they're like really, really important.
Exactly, exactly. So let's look at the different angles at smart contracts. Like we have two sides. We have the one side of the investors, the users that want to put money in these smart contracts, want to use them. And on the other side, we have the security researchers, like maybe they found a bug on smart contracts, how do they report them, who they have to contact, how to find out who owns the smart contract for real now. And we'll present both of them today. So we'll start with the user perspective. And I think Thomas has something to say about this.
So like, I'm sure most of you have interacted with some kind of smart contract before. And like the most easy thing you probably all have done is just like this kind of immediate transactions. This is like when you do a swap. When you have like USDC and you want to get some SOL, then you can use some on-chain DeFi swap, you can put some USDC in, you get some SOL out, or like some kind of these things. These are like fairly conceptually simple because they happen like in an instant. And your wallet can actually really protect you there. There are like probably also like some talks from Phantom about like phishing protection and stuff, but like the wallet really can already show you what will happen in a transaction. So like I can show you estimated changes. And that's like already a really good point for the user to see what's going to happen. Now this is still a simulation. It's not quite perfect because like it relies on old data. It might change a bit. So like you could introduce some guard transactions, but that's up for the wallet developers. And the situation here is already quite good. And you don't really need to put that much trust into the smart contract because the wallet just shows you what will happen.
Exactly, exactly. So there's the other side of the coin, where you have like these delayed transactions like staking, borrowing, liquidity mining, and so on, where you put your money in, and then they have full control over it for pretty long amount of time probably. And once the funds are locked, they have to be trusted. Like you need to trust the owners of the contract that they wrote good code, the auditors that they audited the code well enough, and the authorities that they don't do something fishy with the trust you gave to them. So it's very interesting because their wallets cannot help you anymore. And in the end, you have to really trust these different authorities. And what are these authorities? I think Thomas also knows things about them too.
Yeah, so as I talked about before, many contracts actually can be upgraded. Just adding a new feature, fixing a bug, fixing a security issue, that's important. And on Ethereum, this is implemented via proxy contracts. So it's like not a Solana thing, it's like actually a thing on every single blockchain out there. There's like some way to upgrade it. On Solana, this is called the upgradable loader. So if you see that somewhere, that probably means you have a program which can be upgraded right now. But the upgrade authority is not the only authority we have. We have some additional authorities. For example, in some contracts, you want to like add a new market, or like you want to change some lending parameters, or add a new reward coin. These are all kind of things which are important for a protocol like to evolve, because like getting the exact parameters right from the start is really difficult, so there has to be a way to change it. But then at the same time, for a user, if this parameter changed, this can be relevant for you, right? So you have to know who's able to do that. And also another thing is an emergency stop authority. We think that's like a really good idea in general. And that's also like an authority which could interact with your contract and like at least temporarily lock your funds. So it's important to know about that. Definitely. So as we now probably understand, authorities are hard. The developers and owners of the contract have to put a lot of effort in and think about what they should do and what they should not do. And there are so many different technical implementations. But let's first look at some requirements that these people have to think about. First of all, the authorities should be secure. Like, it should not easily be able to steal them, to take all control over them, and then steal all the money from the users that trusted you initially. Yeah, so like security obviously like the most important thing overall. But there's still like a lot of other things that are also relevant. Like the next best relevant thing is just like trust by users. Like your authority can be as secure as you want to be if your users don't trust it. So like you have to be able to like communicate to the users that you actually have thought about it and have like implemented a way that's trustworthy. Definitely. And then you talked about the emergency authorities, so they have to be quite fast. When shit hits the fan, you should be able to really react to it in a quick manner. And that's also you have to consider when deploying authorities and what to use for the authorities. Yeah, the next thing is just knowledge. You know, if you have an authority, you want to be able to like trust that the authority knows something. Kind of plays in with the trust by users thing, but we think it's worth noting separately. Definitely. And there's also one thing that probably the owners of the code or the deployers of the smart contract have to think about. Like, if somebody knows that they control a lot amount of money, they're kind of danger. So they want to maybe also stay partly anonymous or not easily findable, trackable, or identifiable. So that's also what they have to consider when deploying like, these authorities on chain. Yeah, but at the same time, anonymity kind of like interacts with the trust aspect again. So like, again, we can already see there's a trade-off. Like the last thing we want to highlight is just like decentralization. Because like we've already talked about DAOs, like DAOs are the next hot thing. And DAOs are great for like making all of these kinds of decisions decentralized, right? So I mean, we're a blockchain, that's kind of important as well. So in the end, as you can see, there's so many different requirements that there is probably no perfect technical solution. It's just not possible. But we will try to analyze these different technical solutions that are deployed on-chain now, or maybe will be soon. And then we can give a hint on what should you do and what should maybe not be the perfect thing for you. So let's start with the hot wallet, shouldn't we? Yeah, so up here we've put like some pluses and minuses. These are just like rough guesses and really depend on the situation. It's just like to roughly be able to like compare different solutions. So like the first technical solution we have is what we call the hot wallet. It's just like the most simple Solana authority you probably already know. If you got like some wallet on your phone or on your computer, that's a hot wallet. Because it can like easily be used by like anyone who has access to your computer. There may be a code somewhere on there, but like it's pretty easy to be used. And the disadvantage of it being so easy to be used is that it's also fairly easy to be stolen remotely. So like if there's a protocol which like a lot of money in there, attackers would have an interest to like specifically target the developer to like get access to his computer. And that can be done over the internet. And now it's like a question of how secure is this computer. Like probably pretty safe, but there's still something you have to like trust in. So like as far as wallets go, the hot wallet is really like the least secure one. but it's really fast. Like, there's like really nothing beating just like clicking on the button and it's signed. But then again, it's like really not really decentralized. And like probably users don't really trust the hot wallet that much because like it's not really secure. Yeah, but like the hot wallet can be improved a lot already, but just employing a hardware ledger.
Exactly. So the hardware ledger is from the knowledge side of things one step upwards because you really have to know your things when you try to use a hardware ledger for authorities. That's not so easy yet, but there's soon a PR to come that makes this a lot easier. It's a bit more secure, definitely. Like now you need a special kind of hardware to sign transactions doing the authority stuff. It's still the same trust level. Like it's one guy that can do all the stuff, and you have to trust him. It's not at all decentralized, and it's kind of fastish still. But when you missed your ledger at home and you're here at Breakpoint and something happens and you have to upgrade the code, for example, you'll probably have a bad time. So what's the next step going forward there?
Yeah, so then the next step up is obviously just like combining them all. So we can have a multisig. And this multisig just will contain multiple different, probably hardware wallets or hot wallets. And then we can have to say we have like 10 of them and at least 6 of them have to sign. That's a pretty basic solution. But it's like really secure actually. So like, because you can now have entities which you trust, which like clearly communicate, I own this hot wallet. And then you can say not a single entity can like steal all the money from there, but like 5, 6, 7 of like well-known entities have to get together to make changes, which is like a fairly good way. But it's like it's more decentralized, but it's a tad bit slower. So it might be worth thinking about like having just like an emergency wallet on the side, just like for like temporary halting the project or something to be able to react fast as well. But then we can even put this more into the decentralized region and evolve this into a DAO.
Exactly. We just heard a talk about it. DAO is where it gets really complicated because you also need a community that DAO works. So you have to establish this first. Then the DAO is probably also one of the most secure solutions because a lot of people can have a look what will happen soon, what authorities be used, what upgrade will be deployed or whatever. So they also get a lot of trust from these users because they can decide if they want to do this or not. The knowledge is like a bit questionable because some people don't have this deep technical knowledge, don't know what's happening exactly on the upgrade, for example. But you have a lot of developers, owners of the code that definitely knew exactly what will happen. And it's probably the most top level of decentralization. It doesn't get any better there. However, the biggest downside of it, it's very, very slow. Like minimum hours, mostly days or week. Like you have to give the users time to vote for something. You cannot rush them. And it's not that much decentralized anymore. So you have to plan ahead. And to counter this a bit, you can start making some mixed solutions.
Yeah, so that's like the solution we like most for like the big protocols. So first you have a multisig for like contract upgrades. You might have a ledger for a stop authority. And then you put a DAO in there for like this big protocol changes where you kind of want to have like a direction or something. Or like the DAO votes who gets to be in the multisig. So like you can not really let the DAO directly control the contract, but like have other parts and trusted authorities in there. The disadvantage of this is it gets quite complicated. So, and you already have to have this community, right? So like it really depends on what kind of contract do you currently facing, which solution makes sense. And it's really worth for the developer to think about that and then clearly communicate his decision. Why did he implement some solution? Why didn't he go for another solution? Because all of the solutions represented can make sense for certain protocols, just not for all of them.
Yeah, definitely. So let's look at Solana chain and have a sneak peek what different programs are using. So the last time we looked was around the end of October, and we found 5,885 programs deployed ever. 4,381 of them still alive, and the rest was already closed again. 45 have the old loader, so they are not upgradable at all. And 3,987 of them use the upgradable loader and can be upgraded, can probably be upgraded. 45 of them don't have an upgrade authority at all, so no upgrade for them. And 3,729, the most and the big majority of them use just normal Solana keys. either hot wallets or hardware ledgers. That's not that easily decidable. And only 213 of them use the programs as authorities, like multisig, DAO, or something like, it's like mixed solutions, and you have to dig deeper to find out what exactly. However, these are all programs. We now have a quick look at what doing the top programs with their authorities.
Right, so like a lot of these 4,000 programs are probably like even test programs, like whatever. So like we focus now on like the programs which control the most money, because that's like the most important for the ecosystem at all, overall. And then we looked at DeFi Llama, which is just like an aggregator site which can tell us which protocols control a lot of money. Not all are listed there, but many are. And we got just look at this top 10 list you can see up here. And then we kind of noticed, yeah, authorities are really important, but like docs on this are really hard to find for some of these protocols. And it's kind of like why we wanted to do this talk. I want to shout out Marinate and Lido here. These were like the top 2 best documentations just on these authorities, which like clearly communicate what kind of authorities are there, they are multisigs, who are they controlled by. The other ones like partially have little documentation, partially also quite good documentation. Probably if you want to invest them, just like check the docs yourself and see. Our guesses for these top 10 is that 3 are actually using a hot wallet, or which we can see just like by the wallet has signed a lot of transactions. 2 probably are using a ledger, and 5 are already using a multisig or DAO or like some combination thereof. And we have also seen that many are currently planning to migrate to like these kind of mixed solutions because they now have a community, they can now establish a DAO, but we're not there yet. So like a lot of planning is going on there right now.
Perfect. So let's have a look at an example, like really what is deployed on the chain and how these upgrades or authorities work. And we'll have a look at Marinate in this case. We wanted to take Lido because they have one of the best documentations ever, but they did no upgrade at all ever, so we cannot look at it. And it's more interesting to look what happened already than just see the future, probably. So Marinate is the one thing to go. You can also look up the documentation down below. We linked it. And Marinate promises on their documentation that they have multisig with 11 wallets that they have to sign to make the upgrade pass, but it's not required that all of them sign. They only need like 6. And if 6 of the 11 vote for it, the upgrade will be performed through the smart contract that is deploying the multisig. And they choose very trustful entities on the ecosystem of Solana. So that's how it looks on the docs, and let's dig deep and look and verify it on the chain.
All right, so now you already have a protocol which has nice docs, so you could just like believe the docs. But like there have to be some people who like actually check the docs and see, is it actually true what they're saying there? And we just want to walk through like one example now and just see it. And if you want to do that on chain, we actually have to look at the chain. So like the first question is, which is actually the program address of the program? Because if you want to use the Chain Explorer, we have to enter this address. How do we find this address? First and easy step is the docs. Many programs already listed there. Many protocols don't, so maybe you're unsuccessful. Then you can go to step B. You could just do a test transaction with like the normal front end. Just like put $1 in there and see what's being called. You can see the transaction there. Or you could also go to block explorers and just enter the name. Here's a screenshot of SolScan where we just enter Marinate and click on programs, and it already knows. So like for the big protocols, it's pretty easy. We can just use the block explorer. The smaller ones are like a lot more interesting, but also a lot more complicated and would probably like blow our time away. It's like if we now go deeper into Marinate, we click on Marinate, then we get a screenshot like this. So this is then now the Marinate account on SolScan again. And I highlighted these 3 red fields. These are basically the most important things for you to look at. It's the executable data. That's the account that actually stores the program itself. You've got the upgrade authority. That is the key that has to sign to do the upgrade. So this is really like the thing you want to know, who is this? Who is this upgrade authority? And then you've got the last deployed slot. That's also quite interesting because it tells you how long has this protocol been stable, or like when was it last changed? Is the audit maybe still relevant, or have they upgraded it a week ago? Yeah, we can also look the same thing, for example, in the Solana Explorer. Really pick your poison here. The block explorer, all of kind of different, but also like largely the same. I personally just use different ones for like whatever tasks I want. For example, here in the Explorer, the last deployed slot is also shown, but it's a link, so you can click on it and like immediately see the date. In this case, August 24th. And another thing that's like kind of like a tip when you're looking for these upgrades is to actually look at this executable data account, because this will show you all transactions which change the program code. So now here you see all of the upgrades in like one single place. And this is like the approximate list of all upgrades for Marinate. And you can see these execute transactions. And these are all actually multi-sig transactions for a program execution. And now you can see it was like a year ago, 10 months ago, 5 months ago, and then 2 months ago where Marinate did an upgrade. And we can then click on this actual upgrade transaction and just to see what happened. So this is in the Explorer again. What you can see here at the top is just like a 0 multisig execute transaction. So this shows you they have a 0 multisig. And then inside is the actual upgrade. So we have the BPF loader upgrade instruction. We can see that on the right there, this 551, probably a bit hard to read, the authorities and multisig sign are actually the same. So now we have verified, okay, we actually have a 0 multisig controlled upgrade invocation. Now we could click on the upgrade transaction, which is also linked there, and see who has signed it, and then get the signing keys from there. And then probably like ask the relevant authorities if they actually control the signing authorities. So, I mean, you can do that, but we've already seen it's a bit of work to do that for every single protocol. And that's why docs are really important for developers. You really like have to already provide this information. So like maybe some users of yours double check it, and if it's not provided, maybe just ask the dev to like help you find out who is actually the upgrade authority of the contract.
Perfect. So it's a lot of information. Just do a quick recap from the user perspective. First and foremost, if you want to put money anywhere in there, just first try to locate any documentation. Double check, verify, read through it, and if you're sure or if you're unsure if this is a real deal, take a test transaction, check your wallet, is this the contract you expected the transaction to happen, verify the public keys, check the block explorer, and so on. Normally, with the big protocols especially, are name tagged on the block explorers, so you can verify that this is the correct smart contract you want to put your money in. When permissions exist, verify them with the docs. If you really want to put big amounts of money, you should be absolutely sure. Is this contract upgradable? Who controls the authorities? Is it a multisig, a DAO, a hot wallet, whatever? And are there any other admin functionalities that you should be aware of? And in the end, we cannot tell them who you can trust. We can only tell you where's the information you should probably look up, and you have to decide yourself if you want to trust this or if you don't want to trust this. So as a user, it's a hard choice, but I think we have a lot of information that you can double check and verify to make a good decision on this. But let's switch over to the security researcher perspective, mostly our perspective, and see what is interesting from their side on the smart contracts.
Yeah, so we have kind of like the different kind of problem. If you're already looking at these contracts, even without source, as we kind of hinted before, we run into this problem. I think this program has a bug, and all we know is this program address. And now it's the question, what even is this project, right? We don't have a front end, we don't know anything, we just know like the address on chain.
Exactly, exactly. Like we previously noted that we found something that we can identify bugs, and now what's the first step to do? As we previously said, we can do the same as the user, just enter this on the blockchain explorer. Yeah, this was pretty easy. Like it's a leader program, we can directly identify it. However, we don't only want to protect big protocols, we also want to look at smaller ones that are not listed directly with name on the block explorer. So we have to dig deeper for some of them, and we have to really find out who's the owner. And one way to do this is check all other explorers. Maybe one of them has it already listed with their name, and maybe we can find out who's the owner now. And if this doesn't work, we can use one of the big search engines, and you should definitely try all of them because they list different information, do quotes around it, try to find any information that you can grab your handle on with the public key. And if this still not is enough, you can still not identify who's the owner or the developer of the smart contract, you get your hands really dirty, because now you have to download the executable data and like execute strings on it. Try to find out if this program uses Anchor, and then you can look at the instruction names, and maybe you can find out what this contract is used for and get a hold of who could probably have deployed it. On the other hand, if this is not still enough, you can look for paths in the strings, or you can, as previously said, look up SDKs or JavaScript usage examples that are indexed on any of the search pages to try to find out who's the real person, entity behind it. But now you still have to find the owner, and that's not a difficult task.
Yeah, so let's say we just found out the program name. And now we know what project to report it to, right? And now we have this bug. And we're probably not quite sure that it's actually a bug. We just suspect there might be something there. We obviously can't just announce it publicly. So like we have to reach some trusted entity somewhere. And ideally, that's kind of like the upgrade authority or like the entities behind that. And then again, we have the same problem again. So like we are now in the same perspective as the users were previously of like, we want to find out who actually has the admin capability for this contract, because that person has to be trusted anyways, and just we want to tell him. And now we have to like go to Telegram or Discord or like Twitter if they have a large community, and like try to send some DMs and like try to figure out, do they have a security contract? Who is the trusted person there who we can talk to? And that's already quite a lot of work. And especially for the smaller contracts who don't have a big community yet, this can be impossible. And that's really frustrating, because like there's a protocol, there's not much money in it, maybe not even money at all. It's just like something somebody just built and put on there, but we want it to be secure. So we want to be able to reach out to the relevant authors and tell them. And
definitely.
And we did something for that to improve the situation.
Yeah, we also put a lot of time in there, had a lot of effort figuring out these owners. So we came up with an idea called security.txt. It tries to help us a lot now identifying these projects. However, that's not an idea we came up completely by ourselves. It's already an established thing on the Web 2, where you have to put a special file on a predefined destination, and then you can identify security information like bug bounty programs, security contacts, PGP keys for encrypted communication and stuff like that. And that's also packed in RC already in 9.11.6. And this was very useful in Web 2. So we thought, okay, let's do the same thing on Solana, just with 100% more blockchain. So now we deploy a library directly into the smart contracts where all this information is defined. And then this information can be parsed by block explorers and directly be viewed in the explorers. And the security researchers that try to get this information just have to go into the block explorer and don't have to dig any deeper than that. And then they can directly see informations like what's the program, what's the name of the program, what's the site, do they have a bug bounty policy or something like that, do they have security contact. All this useful information that you would have to dig deep and take a look for a long time is now there right in front of you just on a block explorer. And in our opinion, this is really awesome. We like this very much. So we hope that a lot of more protocols implement the security.txt. There are already a lot of programs that do. So thank you. You're helping us doing our job better and faster. So it's a win for both of our sides. We can contact you faster. You get faster vulnerability patches. So that's pretty awesome, I think, for both sides. So in the end, let's do an appel to devs again.
Yeah, so just like summarizing this section, devs, please document what authorities are in their contract. This is like important for everybody. It's important for the users, it's important for security researchers, and it also helps you think about what authorities you actually have and like how do you protect them. So it's an important thing to just put somewhere and keep the information up to date. Like if you change something, make it more secure, also document it. It's great. And also want to note that closed source makes it both harder for the good and bad guys to find bugs. Like open versus closed source is like a whole nother discussion. I just want to say, if you go closed source, please at least integrate security.txt and make it easy for us to like identify the contract and find out how we're going to contact you. Also, one other point, please don't use hot wallets as authorities. Like on mainnet, I don't think that's necessary. You should probably be using some multisig, or like if you're just getting started, maybe even just like a hardware ledger. it's a bit more difficult to use. Like you have to go through this whole dance of like getting the upgrade account there and reassigning the owner of that. I've put the instructions there. You don't have to read them now. You can look them up later. Or there's also a pull request, which makes all of that a bit easier. But I think the ecosystem should evolve away from like using hot wallets as upgrade authorities. If you want to check if some contract is using that, you can just click on the upgrade authority and kind of try to find out how many instructions they have signed. If the key is a hot wallet, it will have signed probably thousands of transactions, because a single upgrade is usually thousands of transactions. And if you see that, that's usually a sign for they didn't use a ledger, because like using a hardware ledger to confirm thousands of transactions is like really annoying. All right, that's it for this. I think we have an overall larger summary.
Definitely, because we had a lot of information for all the parties. First of all, authorities are hard. So we need them in the ecosystem, we need them for upgrades, we need them for emergencies and whatever. But really think about them and make them secure, make them decentralized, put thought into it, what you really want to use. And it's a very, very powerful thing, so you should definitely think about what you use for it.
Yeah, so we've seen Solana is improving. Like a year ago, there were like many programs using hotkeys. Nowadays, we have like a lot of solutions. I know a lot of protocols are currently designing their own multi-sig and DAO combinations. They're not like all ready for launch yet, but I think it's really getting there. The solutions are kind of complicated, so I fully understand that it takes a while to get there. But it's still, it will get there in the future probably. We just have to push the devs a bit to also like talk about that openly, which I think is also happening in Breakpoint quite a lot. Like I've seen quite a lot of talks here which go about like how much transparency do we have to be in DAOs. Yeah, so it's great to see improvement here.
Exactly. Especially for users, check before you invest. Like double check, is this the right contract? Double check the documentation. Double check maybe on-chain that you don't get your money stolen or something like that. Really double proof. The ecosystem is there to secure you, and we are also trying to audit a lot so that the ecosystem in all gets more secure for everybody.
Yeah, so I think this point I've already highlighted a lot. Just like make the info accessible, integrate security TXT. We can probably just skip that one and go right to the next summary point.
So security researchers, you can also now look out for security TXT. There is all the information you need. You can check if they have the bug bounties. You can check who to contact if you think you found a vulnerability. I think it's a really niche feature that is now deployed on some block explorers, not all yet. But that's also the next point.
Yeah, so Explorer devs, I mean, just integrate it, why not? Currently, I think Solana FM and Solana Explorer show the security TXT information. I think other explorers should do as well, because I think it's like a good indication that the developer has thought about like their security. They just put some policies there. They just want to communicate to you what is the security of this contract.
Definitely. So in the end, we can say that the best audited code can still be hacked by simply upgrading to a malicious program. So the authorities are at least the same importance as the contract and the code itself. So keep an eye out for that too. And if you want an audit, or if you want to get more information about us, here's our contact details. We got a very interesting blog with very different topics. So check this out. Also, check out our Twitter. We're trying to post there more, also when we release a new blog post or something like that. And as previously said, if you want to work with us together, just send us an email. And we're also handing out these coins and merch. So if you want some, just come over here to the table, and you can get some of these shirts and bags and socks and stuff. So hope to see you there.
Yeah, if you got any questions, like we are mostly walking around the conference, you probably fairly easily identify us. We've given some out, so like make sure it's us, but we are happy to help. Like if you just got any questions about upgrade authorities, on security in general, just like I really love having like technical discussions here with like all of you, or like even users, like how can we do something? Just ask us, hit us up. We will have some interesting discussions. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Fantastic. The most exciting part of the day, the community voice. And it will be only fair if the community presentations were moderated by the community itself. So I want to introduce you to our second MC for this stage today, founder of Soap, Chris. Hi, Chris.
How y'all doing? It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great for having you too. You've been together with us on multiple hacker houses and you've seen a bunch of demos.
Yeah. I think this is my 6th hacker house, well, Solana event in general. Yeah.
And how would you describe the road to the Breakpoint? Was it bumpy?
The road to Breakpoint has been paved with a lot of good friends, a lot of good parties, and a lot of interesting technologies that people invented.
I agree, but you've seen already a lot of demos, and we have a bunch of them who've been building on the Hacker House presenting here today as well. Are you excited about what's coming?
Oh, incredibly excited to hear about everybody's ideas and innovations that they're putting on, Shane.
Fantastic. I leave the stage for you to introduce our next sessions, and thank you for having you.
Thank you, Alevtina. So, thank you. So coming up on stage is so Web3 marketing automations is a radically different, can be a radically different world from the traditional marketing sphere, right? So our new technologies can offer a radical shift in how brands interact with and reward their communities for participation and for engagement. So let's hear it from Alex about Saunders' tools for native Web3 marketing automations for both on and off chain.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alex. I am one of the founders of Sonder, and I'm here to talk about and actually show you, very proud to say, finally we can show you what we've been building. You'll have to forgive my voice. I don't think I've been to one of these events without losing it. I hope you're taking better care of your health than I am. So, I think it was a few days ago that Raj posted a tweet, and in that tweet, he said that the best part about Breakpoint is the fact that it acts as this hard external deadline that every project on Solana ends up working towards, right? So we've got all this wonderful news, all of these new updates to all of our favorite projects, and really so many new projects going live, all thanks to Breakpoint. And really that's what we're here to do today as well, right? We've been working very hard to deliver against the Breakpoint deadline. And you know, I'm glad to say we've made it. So everything I'm about to show you is live right now. You can go on the URL sonder.wtf after the demo, please. And you can actually take part in all of the super cool campaigns that our partners are running. Before I get into the demo, I want to talk a little bit of background around how we got here. And really, this product is the result of hundreds and hundreds of hours of conversations with marketing, community, and growth managers. From day -1, I mean, before we even fully crystallized the concept for Sonder, we were talking to customers. I think that's really important to emphasize and highlight because I don't think a calendar day has passed where I haven't spoken to either a potential brand and listened and heard and understood their problems, or an end user and understood what is lacking in their experience. And I would really challenge definitely myself and all of your projects to really take that kind of customer experience and emphasis on the customer first. What did we learn? Well, nothing spectacular, but sometimes you have to hear the most obvious truths 100 times before they're actually drilled into your mind. And actually, I don't think anyone can deny that every Web3 project has the same universal problems. Number one is growing your community, whether that's onboarding Web2 users or attracting Web3 users. Number two is engaging the existing community members and doing that regularly, over the course of their customer lifetime, let's call it. And number three is understanding your audience because of the nature of the decentralized web. So we're going to try and solve that, and we're building a set of SaaS tools, which I'm about to show you, the HubSpot equivalent of Web3, and we're going to help you understand, engage, and connect with your community. And you're going to be able to do all of that from one interface where you'll have hundreds of microservices, both on-chain and off-chain. We are very much a hacker house baby. We did the proof of concept in Krakow in August, and then we validated, and developed our first partnerships in Stockholm. And 38 development days later, here we are today. So enough of that. Let's actually show you the product live. So here's our landing page. Nope. So what you're going to see is the user's experience, the actual end user's experience. Obviously brands, and hopefully all of your projects, which we want to work with, you'll have an admin panel. You'll be able to control all of our back end to create campaigns yourselves. But what we're going to go through here is the user experience. And we're going to show you 3 different things. The first is going to be what you're able to do on Twitter, because we all live and breathe on Twitter in our crypto lives. And then the next 2 are going to show you the types of campaigns that your brand or your project can run that require on-chain verification. And there's a lot more sophisticated logic that goes into a campaign on-chain versus Twitter, because Twitter is basic, because we're connected to the Twitter API and we can work with that. So the end user comes onto our landing page and sees all of the partnerships that we've got right now. Unlock is doing a very cool campaign. This is live right now. You might have seen it on Twitter. Hashtag vote for NFTs. So what Maurice is asking you to do is write a post on Twitter to really share your personal story about NFTs. How did you get into them? Do you like them or not? But even more than NFTs, what he wants to hear is kind of, what is your journey into the crypto world? So that's what he's working with. And to encourage people to do that, he's working with us, and he's going to be giving away 2 SOL to the posts that he likes most, right? So here, the user's going to come in. He's going to connect his wallet because he wants to participate in the campaign and make a post. He's going to connect his Twitter so that we can verify that he's fulfilling the conditions of the campaign. He's going to follow Unlock on Twitter, which is condition number 1, as you can see on this screen here. We're going to verify that that has happened, and it has. And then the next thing is we're going to have to post a tweet with the hashtag vote for NFTs. So we're going to post that hashtag. We're going to tweet it out. And now we're going to verify and ping the Twitter API to make sure that has indeed happened. We've tagged Unlock NFT, and we've hashtagged vote for NFTs. Once that's confirmed, we can confirm our submission, hit claim. We get a nice animation, and now we have a chance to win 2 SOL in the Unlock raffle. The next campaign is something that we're running with Radium. So Radium has just launched a concentrated pool for Ray USDC, and naturally they want people to add liquidity into that pool. And so in this particular campaign, as you can see on the bottom of the screen here, anyone who opens a position on the concentrated pool Ray USDC right now will get 10 Ray immediately for doing so. There's 2 conditions to the campaign. Retweet and like the post that they've got about Lisbon. So we're going to do that. Click on the link, go straight to the post, like it, retweet it, verify that you've done that. And then the next thing is to create any position on the Ray USDC pool. So we're going to go into the Radium website. We're going to add some of our Ray into this pool. Radium will give us an NFT confirming our position in that pool. So we approve the transaction. We receive the NFT from Radium. That's in our wallet now. And what Sonder is doing is we are verifying that the user's wallet indeed has a position in the Ray USDC pool. Once that's verified, you can claim 10 Ray immediately, approve the transaction, and there's $5 for you. Enjoy. coffees and drinks on us. Last but not least, we're going to go into Helio's campaign. Again, this is live, so I'm sure you guys know what Helio is. Beautiful payments platform, also an NFT project. There's only 25 slots in this raffle. It's not even a raffle, it's actually a bounty. So if you do this right now, you'll get 0.25 Sol in your wallet. So if you're on your desktop, I encourage you to do it. There's only, I think, 23 slots left after we did this demo. Super simple. They want people to explore and understand how Helio Pay links work. So what have you got to do? You've got to follow Helio Pay. Easy enough. Hit that follow button. Verify that you're following them. Follow Helion's NFT. Verify that you're doing that. And they want you to use the Helio Pay link. So remember that the reward for this is actually 0.25 Sol. You're going to pay 0.1. Well, Jesus, there's only 20 left now, so hurry up. So you pay 0.1 Sol. You get to experience the Helio Pay link. And immediately, you'll be able to claim 0.25 Sol on the Sonder platform. And 1 out of 25 of these participants is going to win this Helion NFT, and Adam will airdrop that to you. We verify that we've used the Pay link. It verifies, we hit claim, approve the transaction, and 0.25 Sol comes into our wallet. So, that's what it is. Again, you've seen the Twitter API integration, so we can do anything with Twitter. You've seen what we can begin to do on-chain with Helio Pay links, with adding liquidity to the Radium pool. We can work with any kind of NFT, obviously, because that's super easy to verify. Another example with Tulip, which is going live the day after tomorrow, is around holding a position in a liquidity pool rather than just adding liquidity to a pool. So Tulip wants you to hold a position for 30 days. And so we're going to ping the wallet on day 1, ping the wallet on day 30, confirm that you're holding that position, and we'll be able to issue a reward like that. Lots of possibilities. Honestly, the limitations are only based on your marketing or product management's creativity, I would say. We're super grateful for all the partners we're working with. Really wonderful brands in the ecosystem. We're just opening our seed round. We're raising $3 million for 15% equity. So if there's any VCs in the room, I'd love to chat with you after this. And you can reach me on Twitter, on Telegram, scan that QR code. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alex. I'm looking forward very much to the on-chain automations and on-chain marketing. Thank you very much. Now, our next speaker coming up, our next demo, our next demonstration is going to be about unique ventures. And whether you're a community or simply a group of friends pooling funds together to invest into NFT projects or invest in general is a cumbersome process. Let's hear it from Alex, how unique ventures can help us tackle these problems. In a few short seconds, we're going to get his presentation up and running. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Hi, everyone. We've been here for the Hacker House, so now I'm going to do this again, but on my own now. I'm with Unique VC. We've built a platform that can basically do a lot of things. We've been building it for more than a year. So now we are actually rolling out some use cases that are limiting the overall functionality of the platform to some very specific things that certain organizations need to do. So what we have done now is a platform for Monkey Ventures, right? And if you don't know, Monkey Ventures is a syndicate that is gated by Monkey NFTs, where people from MonkeDAO come together if they find some interesting projects they want to invest in, they want to support, so they can actually collaborate on those specific opportunities. What's interesting about this is that not every participant will take part in each opportunity, right? So for some people, games are more interesting. For some people, DeFi. Some people want to support cross-chain and many other things. So what we wanted to do is make sure that we can support the same logic Monkey Ventures had before, but on-chain. So we're literally taking Monkey Ventures and putting this whole thing on chain. So what it means, essentially, let me show it to you. So within the platform that we have deployed specifically for Monkey Ventures, participants can have their own user profiles because it's social investment. It's important to actually know who are the people behind the address. They can also see different investment opportunities. So this is a test instance. So names of those opportunities can be somewhat weird. And operators, managers, founders of Monkey Ventures, whoever is running this entity, can actually create a new opportunity and invite other people to join in, to check information about this, and to decide for themselves if they want to take part or not. So let's try to do something very simple. Put some random information to actually get to the important part. So first we even put some information about the opportunity itself, the name, so for example the project that we want to invest in, description, where we can say, okay, this is a project doing this and that raises that much at this valuation and whatnot. We can proceed, and actually here we can add more members. So if you want to add, for example, a specific wallet that will have a manager role, or you want somebody who already wants to invest, you can do it here. And then it's done. It's a really simple setup. Why? Because for Monkey Ventures specific case, at every opportunity, the setup is going to be literally the same. It's not like they really need this whole flexibility and setting up exact thresholds on the governance, voting configuration, and so on. It's much, much more straightforward. That's why we could avoid a lot of steps along the way, and that's how we set it up for them exactly, right? So they still might want to have a discussion, right? And they still might want to have an understanding of how many people within this particular opportunity think that Monkey Ventures should invest in this other project. But for other actions, like financial actions, they might want to rely on the management itself, right? How do they do that? They're doing this by creating this, what we call a club, right? So it's basically an on-chain organization with the key difference from a DAO being it's like not fully decentralized, but decentralized to a level which the actual organization wants it to be. So like I said, they can create proposals, they can discuss different things, they can comment on them, they can see if this particular opportunity should be improved, and if it is, they can create the fundraise. So the fundraise in this case would be exactly like, if Monkey Ventures was given an allocation in a certain project, for example, $100K, right? So they can put it here, and then people who are interested in this opportunity from within the Monkey Ventures or MonkeDAO in general can come and commit to this particular fundraise. So let's say we are just doing $10 because USDC on DevNet is really, really super limited and hard to get. So we have the fundraise into which we now can deposit. And once the entire amount of the cap is fulfilled, those money can be sent to the project. What happens next is actually even more important. So as you can see here, for example, it's my share, my equity in this particular opportunity. And why this is important? Because it not just represents which percentage of the fundraise did I put in, so how much I own, but actually how much I own, and how do you know that you own something? Because you can sell it. Here, we have basically the liquidity for treasury equity. So at any moment, and again, of course, it depends on the particular use case, on particular organization, on particular DAO, venture arm, whatever, how those rules are set, but in general, you can sell your equity at any moment. you don't need to wait for tokens to be vested by the project or whatever. If you see that the value is growing and there is some interest within the same club, in this case, then you can sell it to somebody else, or you can buy more from somebody else, right? So the whole liquidity is actually working within this opportunity without any additional tokens being issued, right? So it works exactly like equity in a company, literally. And it's important, and I will tell a little bit later why. But anyway, let's say we have created this opportunity, people joined in, we raised the funds, we've sent them to the project. Now the time has come, project is vesting us the tokens, which they can send into this same treasury. And then what the founder can do is go ahead and create a withdrawal proposal, which right now is obviously unavailable because we haven't even contributed yet. So, what's a withdrawal? In our case, it's a little bit different because we don't want essentially for individual members to be able to pull back at any given moment because it ruins the entire investment process, essentially in this case. But withdrawal is basically the distribution of funds from the treasury to shareholders proportionally to the amount of their equity, right? So if I own 50% of the treasury, so of equity, and there is a distribution of tokens happening, I'm going to get 50% of those tokens. Simple as that, right? So your equity actually reflects how much you're going to get out of this opportunity in the end of the day. And it's all automated. It's just because we know and the platform knows how much you own. So this is one use case, one scenario which we are launching together with Monkey Ventures, so for their syndicate. The other way to approach or to use essentially the same platform is to, instead of looking at it from the investor perspective, like let's try to look at it from the project perspective, right? So founder perspective. So what happens then? Project can come to a platform, open a specific type of club, which is basically for fundraising. He can send the link to his investors who can join in and deposit money into the treasury. Now, why and what is different? The main difference is that because of this whole governance layer, so meaning discussions, proposals, execution, and whatnot, investors have certain control over the treasury. Meaning the founder is the only one who can come and say, okay, now please send me the money, right? I raised from you, I need this money, send them to me. Investors say, okay, we are sending you, let's say, 20% of the funds. Let's wait now for 3 months and see what you can deliver. So basically the milestones. And 3 months later, the founder can come back and say, okay, here is the report, here's what we have created, it's all working out fine, send me another 20% of the money. Investors check the report and approve that. That's it. So basically, it makes it much easier, for founders to fundraise because now investors have some insight into how it's going and basically are protected in case of just outrageous rug pulls. And for investors, the benefits are pretty straightforward. With the same setup, you can have an on-chain venture fund because instead of, let's say, the syndicate, you can have your LPs. Also, on-chain controlling certain decisions. We have a great granularity for those. So, like you have all the permissions, all the actions that can be done by a certain role, and the amount of votes, for example, that needs to execute this particular action, and so on. So you can use this platform essentially to create any type of organization on-chain. You can have your DAO, you can have a company, you can have a venture fund, you can have a syndicate, you can have whatever you want. So that's what we have built, that's what we are launching now. So Monkey Ventures is going live mid-November. The general access to the fundraising is going live also mid-November. And essentially, after launching all this, we are kind of aiming to become angel list on chain. So if anything of this sounds interesting to you, if you want to have something similar, for example, to what Monkey Ventures already have, if you are looking to fundraise and it's hard for you because market conditions are not the best, and your investors are saying, like, find a lead or find somebody who can contribute first and then we'll follow up, this is the mechanism you can use. So, get in touch with us. There is a contact form on the website, but also we're all here, so you can try to find us around, talk to us. We can explain much more. We will be happy to connect with you and see how we can help, not just in terms of providing the tech, but also anything else that we can do for you, because that's what we are trying to build in the first place: help founders and investors do much better. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for showing us about unique features. We're going to have about a 20-minute break. We're going to be back at 2:50 p.m. Feel free to grab the last remains of lunch, grab some drinks, and see you back here at 2:50 p.m. Welcome back, everybody, from lunch. I hope you had a great time. We're continuing with the demonstrations, with the project demos. Coming up on stage. So, skill sets in Web3 can be uniquely deep for each person in this space, but launching a Web3 company or a Web3 project requires broad expertise in many areas. Nero is here to tell us how multi-chain advisors can help founders and project leaders navigate the ecosystem. Please help me welcome Nero from Multi-Chain Advisors.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hope everything is good. Hope everyone's alive in just first 2 days of Breakpoint. But I'm here from Multi-Chain Advisors. We're running this is a Web3 consulting company. There's not many Web3 consulting companies in the space, so I'm going to give you a different perspective. This isn't a project, this isn't a demo, so just some observations that I've seen over my time working with 30 projects mostly in the Solana ecosystem. So that's what's up over here. So I guess what I've observed so far, being in the space, there's been a lot of creativity. There's been a lot of unique ways for NFTs to grow. NFTs are just ways for companies to build communities very organically, right? So it's just another way for a SaaS company or some kind of gaming company or some kind of casino company or gambling company to be able to get a community very organically. And we've seen that that kind of creativity through so many different NFT projects and so many different applications in Web3. So that's some of the cool things that I've observed as a consultant, right? We've also seen a lot of VC funding in the space. A lot of this stuff here is partially due to all this VC funding, right? A lot of VCs have made a lot of money in the space. They've crushed it, 1000x returns with tokens. They've made quicker return on investments than traditional equity finance routes. So that's helped fuel the entire Web3 space. We've also seen a lot of scams. We've seen a lot of fear in the space. I think there's a stat that 50% of all monies in crypto is either taken by white or black hackers in the space. So that's also been something that I've observed. And we've seen a lot of crypto lawyers and legal counsel, right? One of the biggest conversations on crypto Web3 is legal regulations, international regulations, or just state regulations, right? We know the U.S. is still trying to figure it out. It's going to take many years, but we've seen a lot of crypto lawyers. We've seen a lot of law firms, official law firms that are working with a lot of Web3 companies in the space, and we got a lot of legal counsel in the space as well. So those are some of the things. We've seen a lot of trends. We've seen a lot of the meta in the space. Everything moves quick in the space, right? So everything in Web3 is light speed, years faster than tech and everything else that's happening. And last but not least, we've seen a lot of influencers and advisors, right? Given that there isn't many Web3 consulting companies, given that consulting in general isn't something that is present or isn't developed in the space yet, given we're so young, we've seen influencers and advisors take over that little gap, and that's been good, and that's also been bad, which we'll be chatting about more. So what's missing in the space from a corporate like standpoint, right? I come from like management consulting background. I'm a CPA, so I've worked in Silicon Valley, worked with like countless companies, like startups and big tech companies. So what's really missing? Internal accounting and tax accountability, right? There isn't much like this is a bit to do with regulations, but there isn't much accounting. There isn't much like frameworks. There isn't many like many of these big accounting firms are just now starting to get into the space, right? I think RSM is working with Bored Ape Yacht Clubs and doing their accounting for them, right? But this isn't something that's really built in this space yet. So for crypto and Web3 to really take off, we need this gap to be filled. Crypto CRMs and community innovation, right? Like in crypto, there's only two things that everyone uses. It's either Telegram or three things, like Telegram, Twitter, or Discord, right? And we see Discord is a mess, especially when you have like 200 Discord channels and different like I guess like Discord what's it called channels, I guess. There's just so many of those messages, and there's crazy notifications. So there isn't really a good way to figure out who your users are, who are these people, what's their geographic details, what's their demographics. It's all a bunch of anonymous people on Discord, and you don't really have that information to be able to work with. So that's a big gap that's missing. Mass onboarding of new users, right? Everyone's talking about crypto. Like, this is a pretty big conference. We got around 3,000 to 4,000 people at Breakpoint internationally coming here, right? But end of the day, like, crypto is still in the infant stages. We're not even at we're not even in the like high millions. We're in the pretty like low millions in terms of like daily active users and amount of wallets that are on chain, especially on Solana. It's even more smaller than some of the other chains out there, like only Ethereum. But end of the day, we're still really early, so mass onboarding of new users is going to be a big problem that people have to get over. And another thing that I mentioned is consulting and service firms, right? There isn't any legit consulting companies. None of the real management consulting companies are even touching Web3 companies yet. So until those guys come in and help businesses grow and really go to market and learn how to pitch what they're trying to build and figure out how to onboard those new users, it's still going to be a while before crypto and Web3 really takes off. And development talent, we see this as well. We need more developers, and there's companies that are coming out to solve these problems, like Super Team and other agencies, but that's also something that's missing. Lastly, mergers and acquisitions, right? We've seen a handful of mergers and acquisitions. I can probably count it off the top of my head, just around 5 or so in the entire space, right? We know Bored Apes did a few acquisitions. We know, the MonkeDAO with SMBs. We know Soulport acquired the Citizens and all the Solsteed. So there isn't many acquisitions in the space, and you'd expect in a bear market such as this that there would be a good amount of acquisitions. So that's also missing, and that's something that I do expect to see in the future. So those are just some of the observations I've seen being a corporate guy who's now in full-time Web3 running a crypto consulting company. So I'll talk a bit more about multi-chain advisors, what we do. So we're a Web3 consulting company. We focus on strategy, growth, marketing, community management, partnerships, gaming, NFTs, and DeFi SaaS projects. So some of the things that I mentioned we're missing, we're trying to help fill that gap. What is strategy, right? What is strategy is such a buzzword, right? But what is strategy? Strategy is how to get your what you're trying to say out to the community, right? Strategy is being able to build that vision and execute on it. So we help figure out what the strategy is, how to get from A to B, 0 to 100, and we work with all kinds of companies on this. This can be gaming strategy, it can be tokenomics, it's pricing strategy, figuring out mint strategy or community strategy. So that's what strategy is. Growth, we focus on growth and go-to-market strategies, right? This is kind of similar to strategy as well, but how do you grow your project from an idea to an actual project? How do you get users? How do you get people onboarded? How do you start making money, right? That's something that isn't really prevalent in the space. Not many projects or not many companies are making money because we're still in the infant stages, right? It's only like Magic Eden and like marketplaces and service companies that are making money. So how do you actually go from A to B and actually start making money so that you can eventually maybe sell your company or, you know, do another raise or, you know, figure out like other options. Branding is another thing that we help out with, especially in NFTs or especially for like companies. You know, branding is very key. Right now, like Solana itself has done a great job of branding itself as a blockchain that's able to scale, right? And that's helped bring a lot of VC money. That's helped bring a lot of buzz. That's helped bring a lot of people into space. So just like that, you know, branding is very important for projects, either gaming, DeFi, NFTs, whatever it is, whatever you're trying to build. So that's something we help out with as well. This is and community management. So how do you actually manage a community once you have a community, right? Getting a community is already a hard part as is, but how do you properly manage it? How do you keep that community engaged? Everyone in crypto's got like ADHD, right? Because there's things happening at light speed, 0 to 100. Like, you know, there's new projects happening every single day. Utes was like revealed like yesterday. Everyone's talking about it, but in like a week, no one's probably going to be talking about that, right? They're going to talk about the next big thing. So how do you manage your community? How do you make sure your community is there for the long run? So that's something we help with, and we've already helped many projects with. We work with Capital Raise Advisor as well, figuring out actual models and valuations, you know, like giving some backing, like substantial details to back how, like what this valuation is and how we got there, right? So that's something that we don't see as much in the space, but we help out with that, you know, creating pitch decks, helping on pitches and all that stuff. And this goes a long way in terms of what you're able to raise when VCs are able to, you know, like see something that's really backed up. We help with mergers and acquisitions. So we do pre-acquisition due diligence and, you know, sourcing and just screening and all that good stuff. So we work on that. Obviously, this hasn't happened yet, but our background is in M&A, and I've worked on multiple $2-3 billion plus acquisitions. I worked with private equity companies to acquire multiple companies in the past as well. So when this space matures and it starts really getting in the M&A side of things, we'll be there to help out on pre-acquisitions and post-acquisitions. And we also help with partnerships and collabs, right? How do you like how do you execute on that strategy? You need to be partnered with the right companies. You need to be partnered with the right projects, the right products, the right names. So we're a very well-connected company, and we help partner the right companies together. And here just in the list of some of our partners, and there'll be a list in the next slide of some more. But we're connected to over 200 plus like DAOs in the ecosystem and some of the top builders in the space. And here's another list of some of our other partners. You know, very notable names over here, but all of these guys are builders and doing great things in the space. So shout out to, you know, Magic Eden, Ludex, Blocksmith, Ranty, Ape 16Z, Sharkify, GooseFX, Right Labs, Soulport. Like, I can't go through the whole list, but there's a lot of builders in the space. And this is just a bit about me and the team. I'm also Crypto Ape on Twitter, so I dox myself here. And the rest of the team. And this is just an example of some of the projects we've helped launch. Smart Sea Society. I'm in Toronto. Yeah. Smart Sea Society, Melt Labs, Ludex, Sharkify, Miners of Mars, Sentry, SoulSwipe, Renty, Oak Paradise. You know, some of the top builders and top projects in space, and some of our other clients right now. We're working with Castle Riveria, Sharkify, anybody's on the Toys R Us launch. Guardians, the first esports company that's coming to, first legit esports company that's coming to Solana, and it's going to be DAO managed or DAO influenced, and just a bunch of other cool companies out here. And yeah, that's it. That's the presentation. Thank you guys. It's a pleasure. If you guys have any questions, you know, just hit me up either on Twitter or like just hit me up in person. But peace.
Thank you very much, Nero, from Multi-Chain Advisors. And that is being wrapped up for Demo Day tomorrow at the community stage. Happy Hour is starting very soon. We're looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much. Catch you later at whichever party. What's that? Where is Happy Hour? That's a good question. Upstairs. Upstairs on the rooftop. All right. See you in a bit.